Okay.
They're still on.
Oh, that's the problem.
We'll keep listeners in suspense. You and I'll decide that ahead of time, but we'll keep the listeners in suspense. And we'll go through
we're on YouTube now. Now, Doug, so YouTube people can at least see us.
Hi, YouTube.
Hi, YouTube. Well, welcome.
All you YouTubers.
Yeah, because it'll be more of a pain in the butt to restart the YouTube than it would do.
Yeah.
I usually listen to them, but tonight I was watching hockey, and I truly just walked over here at the last minute. So for you, YouTube,
YouTube has their own premium channel, and last week the second season of The Karate Kid came out. That's a really good show.
Oh, that's right. I got that on my notes. But
really.
So, see, in in Mixler, whoever came on next would boot the other guy off. See, that's why it's just spinning. When I hit it, it's just spinning. It's not kicking them off. So I have to wait till they get off. Again, YouTubers, this is the behind the scenes at Lenny Melnick.
And if you're a YouTuber, I want to promote one of their show, which is really good. There's a show on there called Wayne. There's literally 2 shows worth watching on YouTube. The rest of it is all like, it's all like gamer stuff.
Right. We're on YouTube right now, and we can't be knocking the YouTube. It's the only thing that's working.
I'm recognizing 2 fantastic shows on their station.
There you go. Right. Cobra Kai sneak up on me. I will give you that. I did not expect it to be as good as I liked season 1. I think we're recording now. Are we in the room? Because I saw my button just switch. They must have just kicked off and it just put me on.
Yep, we're on recording now.
Oh, great. All right.
Let's want to do opening take 2.
Now I'm going to do the intro. Everybody, go backwards. Act like you haven't seen or heard me and Doug, and here we go.
I'm a fan of fantasy, so I listen to EEEZ and Alan on their Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. During the show, you can live chat with EEEZ and Alan at LennyMelnickFantasySports.com. Rumor has it, Lenny only swings one way, with launch angle. Now here's EEEZ and Chris Allen.
And not only did we screw up the audio or the beginning because there was a show on, I clicked the wrong intro after Doug just told me. Last week, I also clicked the wrong intro.
I was listening to it. Everything came out pretty good, but for some reason, and this is just for your knowledge, the intro, the lady, she came across with an echo. You're fine. I'm fine. But
that's good to know because I've never done the intro this way before.
Yep.
So now on my end, I just heard it once, but that's good to know. I will...
when I do my show on Saturday, because I've had so many problems in the past, I actually let the other 2 guys do the first 90 seconds, and I just monitor all the stuff from the background. So it's a habit that I have even when I'm on your show. When you're doing the intro,
I did just type sound in the thing. I know you've told me some stuff, but once people know it's me and you talking, I want to make sure that me and you are okay. Yes, tonight is our first, and everyone's like, "Oh, Easy Show will be fine. He's been on Spreaker," but this switch is good for me because I used to stream 3 or 4 different ways. This new Spreaker, JR Slice said sound sucks. Now is that JR just giving me crap? Oh, wait, no, you suck, sound sucks. Who knows? He is useless to me.
I have to hit the mute in order to listen to that because I don't want to get that reverb through and or whatever. But you sound fine.
Yeah, I think he's just pissed that I sound good because the Blue Jackets are now winning the series right at the moment. So I'm guessing, and he's probably not wanting to come on, because he's afraid, that
the Blue Jackets beat my Lightning. Oh, I meant to wear my Lightning jersey tonight.
Sounded terrific there. Thanks, Cam. Thanks. Everyone's saying I sound great, but this is truly, I'm so excited for this switch over. And I know we keep saying Spreaker, and I love Spreaker, but this really has nothing to do with Spreaker. That's what we're using now, but it really has to do with Andrea. Andrea is the one that set this up and made the switch, and it's in the long run, guys, it's going to make everything easier for all of us. Spreaker has been so much nicer for me to use than the Mixler. And in the past, the way it was done, I had to use both, which was even worse. And now for me,
I've heard she said that it gives her so much time back.
Oh,
and I know that like I don't want to be. I mean, I'm a team player. I come to extra shows. I do other things, whatever. I believe in the format of it, but it's like oftentimes like the one show that doesn't get published because it falls through the cracks is my Saturday show. And I'm really looking forward to it. I don't have to worry about that anymore.
Well, right. And unfortunately, it's because it's on the weekend. And I know a lot of times Andrea and Lenny go into town and are doing things. And you know what? And I've said it all along. Part of the problem with Mixler and Andrea and the way we had it set up is it made it harder for everyone to take ownership of their shows. Now you all have ownership of your shows. Me and JJ, and I don't want to say that. I mean, unless someone else is doing it, me and JJ were the only two other, that actually were also doing Spreaker at the same time. So we had our own RSS feeds, our own YouTube or iTunes and all that stuff. And I'm not saying this I'm not trying to be negative to anybody. So don't take it this way, but ownership of your show will make you, respect or, want the show to be even better. And that's the thing now. The notes are yours. The RSS feed and the iTunes is yours. The whole thing, is
I wonder how they're going to get, because it's going to go through Lenny. Because I was banned from iTunes like 15 years ago.
Right. It's going to go from, right. It is going to go from Lenny. So
that'll be all right.
I mean, the whole thing is pretty
the great thing about because I knew the changes coming over on Monday, which meant that like my show on Saturday was the last show that would have any kind of background stuff. I'm like, no one's going to publish a show, so we actually got to be like experimental. And like the first half, we talked about deeper philosophical questions, and the second half, we acted out a trade via text, just to be really kind of off the wall for the last show that no one will ever hear.
Cam, but I'm all about the talent. I'm not a techie person. Technology is stupid. All right, Cam, I'll give you some of that.
Technology is stupid.
Technology is, I don't use the word stupid because I'm in that industry and I've been in the technology industry since there was technology. That sounds old, but truly, my first real job was in technology, and that was in 1979, and I've been doing it really ever since. So I have stayed up with most things, but just like in fantasy and just like in everything else, I enjoy it just enough to really enjoy it, but I'm not an expert. Does that make sense? I mean, it's like fantasy. I know more than the average person, but I'm not most of you guys. I'm not most of the guys that are on this channel. I'm not I'm not the in-depth baseball guy. I'm not even the in-depth football guy. I'm just a guy that enjoys just enough to enjoy it. I don't even know if that's the right way to say it, Doug, if you know what I'm talking about.
I think it's what part of what comes across with you that's so good is that you come across as a fan. And that's really what it's like. Somehow, in order to like bridge the gap to a larger audience, there's a lot of really big fantasy fans, but they're like a close-knit group of, whatever that 0.5% of society, all guys, all 35 to 50, whatever we are. But it's like the fandom of the sport as a whole, or of sports as a whole, that speaks to the 12-year-old, it speaks to the 50-year-old, it speaks to everything. And we got to keep that in mind at all times.
Oh, great. And when me and Chris first started this show, that was important over a year ago, which is why the name of the show, or not this show, this is a roundtable. This came as a different thing, but my Wednesday night show, a fantasy fan sportscast, which the whole point was I would listen to all these shows on Sirius, all these podcasts. And as someone who was a fan, sometimes I would have to just go, wait a minute, that don't sound right. Or I have are we sure? I just had a different opinion sometimes. And then, but I also knew I needed someone to do something. So that's why I had to find Chris. But, so my show on Wednesday nights is kind of like a fantasy show where there's a caller on the whole show, meaning, sometimes, because to me, a lot of times on these fantasy shows, the callers have the right question, but they don't either ask it properly or the host take it in the wrong direction sometimes. I mean, I have heard sometimes the perfect question. I'm like, yes, what I want to know the answer. And then the host just like they didn't even listen, or, they just take it a different direction. I go, wait a minute. I, as a fan, I think he meant this, and you guys are going, a different direction. And I'm like, just it drives me crazy sometimes. So that's kind of what started it for me too. And it's like, and hey, I even had that written down because I'm going to say it like this too, with what you put in the chat room, the Kentucky Derby. I'm a huge Kentucky Derby person.
I spent most of the day looking at races.
Okay, but here's the problem. I am a Kentucky Derby fan, just like I am a fantasy fan. Doug, I usually can't tell you any of the horses that are in it. Maybe a day or two before, I'll hear who the favorite is, and I'll pay attention to that. But when I say I'm a big fan, what I mean by that is I'm not, because I even think a fan and fanatic is different than the guy I would call the gambler or the bettor, meaning I don't miss the race. I will sit here. I will not miss it. I want to see it. That's the kind of fan I am. I'm not the gambler. I'm not the guy who needs to know, everything about every horse, but I will turn it on. And I think the race is usually like at 6 o'clock, 6:15.
The beauty of being a Kentucky Derby fan, and like you don't live very far from there. You ever been to one live?
I have never been to one live.
What is it, like 120 miles from there, right?
I'm right. I'm about 2.5 hours from there.
I've been to 2 live, and like I always say, like, I'm a baseball fan first, but for about 6.5 minutes a year, horse racing is my number one sport.
Oh,
and that's the Kentucky Derby plus the Preakness plus the Belmont.
Well,
and it's just the excitement of that unrivals anything, especially if you have a piece of a winning ticket or a near winning ticket.
I even go to our local fairgrounds where they do the harness racing. I mean, and I'll sit there and not even now. I've learned how to read a horse book. I'm trying to think what the technical name of it is. What do they call there's a name for the horse book that you get when you the racing form. I learned how to use. I can read a racing form, but I read a racing form the same way I read, Hamlet. I get most of the words right, but I don't really grasp what I'm saying. Which, I kind of, I know what this means. I know this is what he did two races ago. I know that, and some of that, but I still didn't gamble a whole lot. I enjoy the athleticism of the horses. And I know there's people out there.
It is a gorgeous thing to see.
They might be the most athletic things on earth. I mean, I know that's maybe hard to do, but I mean, I don't even know how you would rate that. Thank you, Cam. Racing form or program, and I think I screwed up.
You came up with form,
right? But I really do. How beautiful the athletic, just to watch a horse run is phenomenal. I mean, it's I just really enjoy it. Beth, how do you enter YouTube? Are you asking to be on the show, or are you asking how you can watch my pretty face? Type in that. I can give you the link to be on the show. But it is different now.
What I was going to say about Kentucky Derby is that unlike other sports, like to be a really good baseball fan, especially a fantasy fan, you got to watch a lot of games. You got to see a lot of things. You got to read a lot of stuff. With horse racing, honestly, I didn't even think about it until this week, because this is, they do the draw on Tuesday, and that's the start of it. You can go to the website, the Kentucky Derby website. Yeah, and you can look at every horse, and you literally can watch everybody's race, because these races are only 2 minutes long, right? You watch every race of importance for every horse of importance in about 25 minutes. It's like you watch the Santa Anita, that's 2 minutes of your life. Louisiana Derby, it's 2 minutes of your life. The
Kentucky Derby has only been less than 2 minutes, if I don't recall right, twice. I think twice the it's 2 minutes, but yes.
It's 2-ish minutes. It's a bunch of 2 minute things, right. So you watch 11 of those. That's 28 minutes of your life out of your way, and you've seen everything you need to see.
But I don't even. how do I want to say this? I put the races on because, again, I know it starts early in the day, at 2:00, whatever. And I put it on early just to get track information, what the track's like, what. Thanks, Cam. We'll get there in just a second because you're correct. Horse race movies, there are some great horse race movies. But but at the same time, I will watch some of those races. But that's the point. I'm still a Kentucky Derby. The actual Derby race to me is more important than all the other races, meaning I won't watch. I'll watch them, but I'm not watching them like I will the 2 minutes of the actual, the actual Derby itself. And when I say that, the Kentucky Derby is an event. Is that actual race the Kentucky Derby?
Yes.
Okay, so that one race is the Kentucky Derby because I think the one they run.
Well, they have 9 races that day, and
the
it's
one
the 7th race.
before that is called. There's always a name for it, and I normally.
So it's the Lazy Susan.
Thank you. Right. So I mean, and then it's the actual Kentucky Derby, and then obviously I watch all the Triple Crown races, and then that's it. That's my horse racing on TV for the year. I'm done. The only thing I do that you don't. It's usually done down here in Florida is I will pay attention to the Breeders' Cup, but that's it. That's one more race. Right.
One more race day.
But yeah, in the thing, Cam is saying, great horse movie. Seabiscuit, a great movie. Secretariat, another great movie. Even if you're not a horse person, both of those are very good.
Yeah, Seabiscuit was a really good movie.
Yeah, they're both very good movies. Let It Ride doesn't ring a bell.
Isn't that the one with the guy running? It's like Bobcat Goldthwait riding the zebra.
I don't think so. I think that's something else because I think he's saying this is with Richard
Dreyfuss.
Terry Garth. Terry Garth for minutes was one of the hotter women around. I just throw that out.
That was Mr. Mom and Mrs. Mom and Mr. Mom. It was Mrs. Dad, I guess, whatever you want to say. And right. Mr. Mom, she was the girlfriend.
And this one, he said it's a fun comedy if you're a gambler. So that one must have a gambling.
What is the one with the racing zebra? Come on, Cam.
Come on, Cam. Right, Cam. Come on. Because I do know what you're talking about. We've seen it. My kids have watched that one. It is the
Racing Stripes. Racing Stripes.
Did Cam put that in there, or you got it?
No, I looked it up. So the one I do is I have a fetish with Marx Brothers movies. I own all of them, and so they have like their third best movie is probably A Day at the Races, and when I play, if you ever want to see me, the names are there. Like if you ever run into me on DFS sites, my name on DFS sites is Dr. Heckenbush.
Cam did finally get in there. Now I'll give Cam credit. We're on a little bit of a delay. He might have got that before you said it.
He probably got it. He's
we'll give him credit.
He's up on those.
Wait a minute. Oh, JR popped on. That's not Beth. That's the ugly. Ross.
That's JR the
ugly Ross.
The working on it.
The future sidekick.
Okay. It is most important that you make it work for her. So don't worry about us.
Don't worry about you.
Don't
Only
you
worry about her.
We don't care about you, JR. You make it work for Beth.
Look how hazy it is back here. We have such a good background here. Don't worry. We're in a log cabin. Look.
I know you're beautiful. You are beautiful.
It's dangerous that we are even getting on. Like I was saying, let's not go on. And somebody wants to go on. Let's see how this works out.
Come on now. No, Doug, hold on. If Boston had won, would it have been a question if you were coming on or not?
No. I don't.
Lie to me.
Dude, I'm not. I'm like I said, I haven't watched hockey for quite a long time. You guys are playing phenomenal. That goalie is out of control.
He is right now.
I'm not stupid. I remember how hockey is. When goalies get hot, you guys could go all the way. I mean,
good. I hope.
There we go.
I was gonna say that I think Spreaker is so good that you guys could probably speak in through one microphone. Of course, you have to have
Spreaker is much better. I do agree. I don't know how everybody else is out there. I thought
you could probably get into one box and talk through the one thing, though. She'd probably need to have a headset.
The audio quality of the shows today, I think, has been really pretty good.
Have you noticed? I'm not knocking the change because we're all learning, but have you noticed like the amount of like background stuff that you've been picking up when you listen? dogs barking in the background, the doorbell ring.
Well, what's nice, the software one gives you a little more control. You can do a lot more with it anyway, even though the default settings make it kind of nice. So
yeah, no, it's really clear.
Yeah,
I mean that's a function of how good the microphone is. It's not a function of speaker being bad.
Doug, did you hear? I know you had your headphones off when I played the intro. Could you hear the intro through us?
No, I muted us and I put my speaker on.
So like if I play the bell, do you hear this?
Yeah, I hear that. You can hear anything that's on the speaker thing there, and you can upload your own stuff.
Okay. Right, and I did. I put all mine uploaded. Right. I just didn't know. Originally, when this all worked, I couldn't make it work to where you guys could hear, and now I think speakers fixed all that. So, that's pretty cool. Well, yes.
I was going to say that I'm a Kentucky Derby fan. I threw together a little thing that we could have a just for fun Kentucky Derby fantasy thing. The idea is I put the thing out there. You can see the rules on it. It's like you get $300. You pick 3 horses, one to win, one to place, one to show. The guy gets the most money. Is that what you have
in the chat room? Is that the link there?
Yeah, the link is to the explanation page, and the entry thing is there. It's a real simple concept. Minimum bet is $50, max bet's $200.
Remember to post that at the end of the show also.
I just thought that it's like enough of us like this enough. I mean, I live a 1.75 miles from a highlight where I can go watch the thing and bet, but most people don't have that. I mean, I assume that they have it in New York and stuff, but
well, we can gamble. Actually, horse racing is one of the few things you can gamble on here in Ohio. I can go and put a bet down at a horse race track for races that aren't even in Ohio.
How far are you from the Kentucky border? I'm
an hour and 20 minutes from the Kentucky border.
So you're away from the hills and the horse country. But
yeah, well, I mean, we still have horses around here. Like I said, Dayton has a horse track, but they only race harness racing, and they only race in a weird time of the year. They only race in the fall. Because the horses are somewhere else other time. So,
yeah, I grew up in Chicago where we had the Arlington. That was the only racetrack we had. Same thing, harness racing.
Now, Cam said Shark Tale was a racing themed animated movie with Will Smith. I've seen Shark Tale. I guess in my mind, I don't picture that being a horse race movie, but that
was Will Smith.
Yeah, Will Smith rocks, doesn't he? Beth, get Beth figured out on her own phone.
Can't. She's got an older phone. They're trying to basically what I think they're doing, because this is what iPhone does, is we've cleared off all this space, but it's still telling her that we have to update. And I'm like, they just wanted you to buy a new phone. Like, we've done everything we can do. We did it last week, and now they get the family pictures and us.
All right. So together you must be.
Yeah, but can she?
Right. Give that girl an earbud.
Oh my Lord, is this gonna work?
Yeah.
Well, now she has the majority of it. How bad do I sound, Doug?
Okay, but you need to move. You both need to have it in the ears that's closest to each other. You got it on one ear, and right, you both have it as far away as possible. That's great. I love it.
Say something, Beth. I want to hear your voice.
Beth is still moving around there, and same thing. Beth is still putting it in the wrong ear. Beth, Beth, put it in the ear. Right. There you go.
I can't even update my phone. You think I know what ear?
This works though. It actually works. You guys sound good.
You've got a haircut, Doug.
Doug looks good.
Yeah, I like it. You look nice.
I gave my hair to cancer kids, Jewish cancer kids.
Did good for you.
House of Esau.
That is a really cool thing. I'd be honest, Doug. We should I meant to talk about that last week, and then JR got me on some, other.
I'm not religious by any stretch of imagination. God hates me more than anybody.
Doesn't.
Oh, he does. He does. But
you don't know that
I have this I used to be a pretty much practicing Catholic. I was a youth minister. I met a pope, like that sort of thing. But nowadays I kind of follow the.
Oh, wait a minute! You don't just slide that I met the pope. You met a real pope.
I met John Paul II.
I was going to guess Pope John. The odds are if you say Pope John, you're going to get.
I took my
crazy JR. There's more John Popes than anything else.
I want the long story of the short story about how I met the Pope.
Sure. Yeah, I want to hear the story. I want to hear the story.
The short story is I went to Rome with my youth group during the Iraq War, and somebody heard that there was an American youth group in Rome, and they came to our hotel and they invited us to meet with him. And when I say we met with him in a private room with only about 2,000 other people.
No shit.
The long story is better, but that's the thing. This is the one thing. Like, I'm there with the youth group, and we're meeting him on this Wednesday morning, and there's this. We're waiting in line to get in this room. It's like a 2,000 seat auditorium, and we did have the moment to like walk up, kiss the ring, and stuff. And while we're getting there, there's like 3 or 4 of the youth groups, like one
ring. Damn it!
One from like Austria, one from whatever, and they all got violins and stuff, and and then we're about to walk in the door, and the Monsignor who came to us, he goes, "Oh, I forgot to tell you, it's tradition when a youth group comes to meet the Pope in this manner that when they announce you sing a song." Like, oh, great! You could have told us that.
Yeah, you could have.
You could have told us that a couple days ago. When you brought this up,
slide into the long version secretly.
No, it's just kind of funny. Like,
I want to hear it.
to put yourself on the spot to sing a song.
Right, I agree.
In front of the Pope, and the kids are like. Now the truth is, like, kids nowadays are really into like singing and dancing more so than we were at our age. Easy.
Oh,
and
I could have sang "Cat Scratch Fever" back in the day if the Pope asked.
They're trying to figure out something to do, and I said, and they're all getting nervous and stuff. It's like, look, we're Americans. Everyone thinks we're loud and obnoxious. Just sing loud and obnoxious, and everyone will get a kick out of it. And the truth is that we got the Pope to laugh.
You got
really
to laugh. That's good.
Well, now he's dead. So
yeah, he died like 3 weeks later.
Oh, it could have been the singing.
Story.
I think it's so funny, that Pope mobile where the Pope goes around in that cart with the.
He was old. He was old when I went up there to talk to him. Like we had the thing where like the adults and we had a photograph session, whatever. I walk up and I do the kiss the ring thing. He said to me, now this was like in February, like the first week of February. He said to me, he told me Happy New Year in German.
Really? I gotta tell you, I'm the least religious person in probably this crew.
Well, I mean,
I really don't.
Where he was mentally at that point was he didn't recognize that we were the American grouping. Now, fortunately,
are you sure he wasn't whispering, "Save me"? They won't let me out of the pit.
No, it was just.
I went to Catholic school for 2 years.
Have you been catching up with your Supernatural, Easy? This whole conversation, as soon as this conversation started, I was like, Supernatural.
I have not watched one episode of Supernatural.
But you're wasting time with that GOP? Are you wasting that GOT crap?
Yes, I've been watching. But see, I did not do Game of Thrones until Christmas this year. I didn't watch. I watched season 1 12 years ago, and I gave up on it.
12 years ago?
Whenever it came out.
Okay.
I watched season 1
terrible.
Came out. No, I thought it was very good, but they killed off the 2 guys I liked the most. So I said, "F you guys."
Like the first 6 shows were like all exposition of different things, and you had no idea who anybody was, and I literally remember saying, "There's no way this show's going to hang around. No way." HBO had a horse racing series called Luck. That's something I'd probably like. I might have to go look that up. That is good.
We were talking about horse racing before because we, on our honeymoon cruise, met a couple from Kentucky, and they invited us down, and we went to Keeneland, and we watched the horse races, and it was fantastic. Yeah. What a great sport! It's so much fun.
It was fun live.
It was so fun.
It was fun.
I was saying before you guys got on here that going to a horse race is actually more fun for me than watching a baseball game.
Yeah, I heard it because I couldn't update my phone. So
and I'll ask you guys. I mean, JR, is there a more physical, athletic being that we use in sports than a horse? I mean,
they don't have an ulterior motive. You know what I mean? Like they're not like worried about their sponsorship. Like they're not
worried about.
You know what I mean? They're just a beautiful.
They just want to win. They just want to be fast. They just want to, and the muscles and the structures when you see them. I mean, it's phenomenal. I mean, I don't know.
And if they don't do well, they're jello. Like it's fine. Like
I know. I have watched a lot of racing, including I think twice in my life they've brought the tent out during the Kentucky Derby. And if you watch enough horse racing, if they bring the tent out after the race.
They did that one where it was live on the air about 6 years ago.
Just happened.
Harborough?
5 or 6 years ago, it happened right after the race. It was all on the TV. But that's right. If you don't know, if they bring the tent out, they're bringing the tent out to cover the horse that's no longer going to be with us.
I didn't know that. I'm glad.
It is absolutely the worst thing that happened in any sport.
Yeah.
It just became an ER episode.
It's like you hear this gunshot and you're like, holy
what?
No, they don't do a gun anymore. They inject it now. Come on.
Jesus, Doug.
Doug, right.
I work in an ER, and I don't think that's. I think that's.
I've heard the gunshot.
Okay, on some, I would assume on older tracks in some places it might be a gun they use, but in others, I think now. Here's the deal, because it's happened a couple times in Kentucky. One of the times the tent did come out, but they didn't put the horse down. They actually saved the horse. The horse just couldn't, and I mean, I hate to say this any other way. The fluids inside that horse are very valuable, if you know what I mean.
Yes.
So they do.
I'm medical. I know what do you mean.
They do not want those horses. I mean, it is very expensive to have one put to sleep. If they can get it to survive, they want it to live. So they do. I have heard, there's been times where they thought that they were going to have to put him down, but they just brought the tent out to move him to a trailer or whatever. But yes, unfortunately, the tent, the 1 year, just like Doug said, 5 or 6 years ago, that horse, I think, got put down right there on the track.
Yeah, Barbaro was shot.
Yeah, it was big. It was big news.
It was 2007. It was at the Kentucky Derby, and you literally heard it.
I'm not sure I can say I heard it. I don't recall hearing the gunshot, but
we're talking pitchers and catchers.
No, we're talking Keeneland and horse racing in Kentucky.
Right. JR, quit changing the topic.
And remember, let's bring it back to my favorite, MC Hammer, who actually owned a horse called Dance Floor, who placed third in the Kentucky Derby back in the early 90s.
I remember that. Do you guys?
There's some sports facts.
There you
guys.
I can vaguely remember watching it, and they always go through that like this one is 1/12 owned by a celebrity, and
right.
I can remember MC Hammer being at one.
Except they panned to the crowd, and there he was in his pants, dancing, cheering on his horse.
Not mistaken. I think Tom Brady's been at the Kentucky Derby multiple times. I think he is a horse guy.
Yeah.
He's a horse dick.
Whatever.
I piped down. You were worried about me being embarrassing, but I was just about to say that.
Royals is saying they were shooting a second season of Luck, but PETA shut them down.
Yeah. They had like 3 or 4 horse injuries, and they got shut down.
So the actual TV show had horse injuries. And
if you watch it, it's got some amazing graphics of horse racing.
Okay.
Like with real horses. And
I will watch that. That seems like
it's worth it. I think it's David Mills.
Better than Supernatural.
But it's disappointingly only one season because it couldn't.
How many seasons of Supernatural are there?
We just spoke.
Too many.
We just spoke. Hold on. If we talked about Supernatural for an hour, we'd have more viewers. Supernatural is still on. It is currently the longest running TV show, I believe, on besides not LA.
ER. No. Law and Order SVU.
Law and Order.
I looked up tickets to a Supernatural convention. They were almost $4,000.
Sold out.
Really?
Dude. It's a great show.
For the best package for the Supernatural convention.
This is their final season. But you guys got to remember, I started watching Supernatural, and then that one actor left that show, and then Supernatural and he took the guy from Gilmore Girls, and then they became this show. The star of the show in the first year or two was the guy that created The Walking Dead. Not created, but he's the big star in Walking Dead. Supernatural spanned out a lot of the shows you guys watch today. So
really?
I thought we were talking about sports.
Yes, the father of the dean. Excuse me.
The father, the cop.
Yeah, no, he's not the cop.
I really like Doug's haircut.
The killer guy.
Okay.
Anyways, I don't know what's going on. You guys could talk on Facebook or something about this haircut. But
Doug and I are Facebook friends.
The problem is with TV shows, even good actors, if it's a topic you like. I mean, I've liked shows that other people just think that's stupid, but the topic drew me in, not the act. You know what I'm saying? I mean, and then other times it's the other way around, where the actor will make you watch even though the topic isn't as good. I mean, it's unfortunately I struggle because I don't do too many shows unless Mrs. Easy's going to be watching, because if she's not watching, then I'm watching sports, so that's the problem. So, and she's watched, unfortunately, some of those I'll go, okay, have you ever, unfortunately she's maybe already seen them all. So it just eliminates me even watching it ever. You know what I'm saying? Because it isn't something I'd probably watch by myself.
What, Supernatural, or what show are you talking about specifically?
Supernatural. If she's already seen it,
Oh.
I'm probably less likely to put it on and watch it. If we haven't seen it, we try to watch things together.
Tell me about Mrs. Easy. I don't know anything about her.
That's a good thing, because we've had a conversation. She works at a bakery, so she's in bed usually by 9. She gets up at like 4.
Early, wicked early. You've got to get up at like 4 or 5.
Yeah. So
to make the donuts.
That's why it works for me to do the show at 9 o'clock or at 10 o'clock, because she goes to bed and I don't have to,
Well, see, the reason I like
that's a hard job, though. People probably don't give her credit. She's a pastry chef.
She does. She actually managed the whole bakery. Her specialty was cakes. But now, and she even actually right now she's in the middle of where she's been managing for about 3 years, and she's just pissed that she doesn't get to do cakes as much. I'm like, you're the manager. Just schedule your ass to do the cakes. And somebody
like, bitches, I'll make the cake.
Yeah. She's like, but I can't do that because if I'm stuck doing cakes and blah, blah, I mean, so.
Being in management is tough. I know how to make one cake. It's good, but I know how to make one cake.
Well, if you know how to make one cake,
it's out of a box.
No, baking is a science. Cooking is a skill, but baking is a science. Like, she must be very smart.
No. I can do both. I cook and bake. I mean, I'm right there. No, she okay. My wife cooks.
She's very smart, and she can outbake you any day. Like, are you joking?
No, okay. If she was here right now, before she was into the bakery thing happened by accident. So it's not like, how do I want to say this? The place she worked is I think if I say Amish, that'd be wrong. Like German Baptist, it's a German Baptist place. And it's actually their main thing is they're a butcher shop. They're a big butcher shop where people from all over come there to get their beef and pork, because they actually slaughter the cows and the pigs there every Monday and Tuesday. Well, they have a bakery on the side. Does that make sense? Okay. So that's it.
We're going to get so many views.
That's okay.
Off the hook.
JJ was giving me shit tonight. And I said, JJ, I only need to entertain one person with my show, and that's me. If I'm entertaining,
fired up.
I do not care about it. I mean, my 2 fans, I do love you all, but I do the show for me, and I hope you enjoy it. But
I love it.
So one day somebody quit at the bakery, and she was like, I've had enough of cow blood on me and blah, blah, blah. So she just moved to the bakery, and she enjoyed doing cakes. Because trust me, when she told me she's going to be decorating cakes, I went, my wife would misspell happy birthday on my kids' cakes, and now she's going to decorate cakes. So I did have to, but now
what I'm hearing you say is my wife is so talented and lovely that when this opportunity arose, she said, I'm going to do it. And you supported her because you knew that she could do it.
Look, when's the last time Jim gave you 2 anniversary cards? Because tomorrow's our anniversary, 37 years tomorrow.
Oh my Lord!
Congratulations.
I'm going to bed.
May the 1st, 37 years ago. Actually,
I never think about these anniversaries because I talk about being married 3 times.
And actually,
somebody brings them up, but 3 days ago was the anniversary of my first divorce.
Oh, congratulations!
There's a lot of celebration going on here.
Yeah, maybe I need to work on that one. Maybe I need to get my first divorce. Then I'll have something.
No, you don't either.
But so tonight would be I'm so old that tonight was the night I was getting drunk. You know what I'm saying? Nowadays, you're not allowed. No one gets drunk. No one does their bachelor party anymore the night before their wedding. We did our bachelor party on Thursday. We partied through Friday and got married on Saturday. Now guys have their bachelor party like 6 months before.
Yeah, that's true.
That is stupid. You might not even get married. So tonight.
When was your bachelor party?
Hold on, it was the night before.
It was the night before, wasn't it?
Yeah,
2 nights before.
No, it was the night before.
It's the night before.
Well, that's good.
Hey,
you been married long enough that was still the thing. Nowadays, they really do have it like months ahead of time.
Did Herman Marquez throw a complete game? Does anybody got anything on that? I know this is a sports show.
Small shit.
Yes, because
baseball?
I'm trying. I just traded for him,
Oh,
and he had a perfect game in the 6th inning. And I don't watch because I
you
feel like I
and your
jinxed it.
trades.
He pitched 7 innings, allowed 4 runs.
What?
Hold on.
He allowed the 4th. What did he allow? 4 runs in the 7th.
Looks like 1 in the 6th and 3 in the 7th.
God dang it! No, seriously. In my big league, I picked up Means and I picked up somebody else. Pitched 3 games in a row, and of course I throw them all in. Boom.
Oh yeah, you didn't expect much more from Means, right?
No, I think he'll be fine. I bet next time, like I'm still gonna keep him, but I mean, it just sucks. I can't get. You know what I mean? I have a lot of money invested in this, so I traded for Herman Marquez, and I was nervous. You know what I mean, to play him against Milwaukee, but I said screw it, because you guys know my philosophy. I'm doing the same thing. Merrill Kelly, like this week's horrible for me. I think Merrill Kelly's going up against somebody that's really good. I threw him in. We had this conversation last week, guys. Remember? And I played him.
I remember.
And he was great. So you know what I mean. Most people probably sat him last week, and that was a mistake.
Herman Marquez is a guy that, I mean, it's what he pitched was literally a fantastic game for Coors Field.
He's been on fire. He's been good all year, Doug.
No, I mean his ERA on the road is something like 7.
Really?
His ERA at home is like 7. His ERA on the road is like 0.4.
This year or last year?
Yeah. No, this year.
Wait a minute. Aguilar hit a home run off of him in the 7th.
So he's on fire now.
Oh,
Aguilar.
yeah. I'm glad I paid $28 for him. I thought I overpaid, but
no, you have $1,000 budget.
With Thames, I can never say his name. With Thames getting hurt, he's definitely a good pickup now because he's going to.
Aguilar will probably take over anyways, which most people probably would.
Slumping. I'm kicking Andrea's butt. I did just bring that up.
Is she in there?
Uh-oh.
She's not going to come on at like 11:45 and keep me on until 1.
No,
of course she is.
She knows her stuff. She's smart.
She is smart.
Smart. She knows her things. Like she's smart.
Making cake.
Here's Marquez's splits. He's 2-0 with a .41 ERA at home, away, and at home he's 1-1 with a 5.29 ERA.
That's fine. So he's 3-1. I don't play those splits. I don't care. It's a yearly thing.
Like it's something you should know. Not to, if you have the option, don't play him at home.
I'm still. No, I still got to take the win. The K's. He strikes out people. I can't just not. I got to play him.
Yeah, we already had this discussion. I play him.
All right. Sorry.
No, that's fine. Because I agree with you.
I'm just giving out advice.
Play him.
I have to.
See,
my pitch is horrible.
I've only had 2 innings pitched so far. I'm going to be struggling if anybody gets hurt or doesn't pitch. I have no two game starters this week. My relief pitching sucks, but I'm beating Andrea. That's all that matters.
Yeah. See, I don't worry about that because I stream kind of on and off in this league still.
Right, but see that hurt you last week. See, that's the problem with streaming too early. Huh?
I still won. You're getting confused. Dude, I can go 6-5 all year long as long as I make the playoffs. I'll worry about that shit stuff that week.
You used up your move, so you couldn't pick up.
I couldn't.
Right.
Yeah.
That's my point. That's why I unfortunately sometimes the person who gets dropped is more valuable than the person that gets picked up, and then you can't get them 2 days later if you've used all your bids. That's all I'm saying.
That's part of the game.
I know.
But I wouldn't have got Andrew Har because I wouldn't have paid that $477. I was going to throw about 170 on him.
You saw me. I put a little over 200. I thought that was high. Because I do have him in another league, and my problem is he's still injured. I mean, I get it. He's supposed to come.
There's a chance.
Well, there is a chance he doesn't even. It's like Rodon came back for 1 game and now he's on the DL. I mean, anything can happen. So that's too much money to spend. I thought.
If you look at this league, I do a lot of different things. I'm not saying I'm going to win this league at all. Doug has a totally different way to play, but I'm doing okay. Like I may go 6-5, 6-4. I don't care as long as I'm good. If I can win,
I want to get some thumpings.
And you might, but that's 12. That's what 5 weeks down the road.
Yeah, I know.
And dude, baseball, fantasy baseball, you just got to keep paying attention. People will start like in a month. There'll be 5 people in this league that don't pay attention. So now I'm just competing with whatever. Was that 7? I don't remember.
Right. Kevin
But,
Rowe was saying right. Aguilar had no home runs until yesterday, and he now has 3.
All of a sudden. Yeah, he had 2 yesterday.
Since I picked him up and been playing him, I've gotten some use out of him. So
he was downright awful.
I almost cut Pilar, but Pilar, unfortunately, he gets 1 hit every day. One day. I mean, he sucks, but he gets 1 hit every day, but he's still batting like 10.
He doesn't suck. Listen, these are guys, and Doug will probably agree with these. These are guys that don't suck in fantasy. Pilar, Marquez, Melky Cabrera. These are guys in a 4 outfield thing that you have to own. And people go, why would I own those guys?
5 outfield deeper leagues, yeah.
So, but what do you mean? Yeah, dude, Marquez, I've owned him for 7 years straight.
Like, what do you mean? I'm agreeing with you.
7 years, right?
Well,
He did
seemed a little hesitant.
I have a little bit of hesitation because
Jeez.
Why?
He can't be hesitant with
in a shallower league, if you're in a 3 outfielder league, you're in a 12-team league. Yeah, maybe not. But for most of the leagues in the type that we play in as fantasy geeks, they're deeper and stuff. Yeah, I mean, I love Melky Cabrera.
Even in a 12-team 2 utility, I've always owned Marquez because I was in a.
Brandon Belt's another one. Just give you solid.
Marquez is actually, if you sit down and look at him, if you have hits as a category, he's unbelievably a good fantasy player.
He's probably going to get 3,000 hits in his career.
He 100%, dude. He has almost 2 hits every single game. It seems like
he's at like 2,700 already.
He is always a 17 to 22, 80 guy in 300 average. I mean, if somebody can sit down and go, he sucks.
Average, virtually a 300 average. Yeah,
no, I don't think so. He's got to be all right now. You pull him. Now I got to pull it out. But whoa! Sorry,
Stop
fighting.
Just under 300 versus a 300 is
bad.
All right, sorry.
What about Will we see Nick Zenzel this weekend? That's what Kevin in Hawaii.
He's got a 289 career average. He has 2,270 hits, and his birthday he was 83. So,
but how many years has he been married?
Probably 3 years if he lived to be 80.
Maybe if he's lucky.
You know what? Easy.
Well, that's a big lie because married men live longer.
290 is good.
Is Nick Zenzel coming up?
He's a good player, Doug. I love Nick Marquez.
No, I like Marquez. I saw Nick Marquez.
I don't have him on any team, but
I saw Nick Marquez play at Young Harris College in North Georgia, and it was one of those things. I was just driving through the town, like everyone was going somewhere, like just walking through the streets in this little town. Where are you going? I'm going to a baseball game. So I go, well, I'll go to this game. And I went to this game, and he pitched a no-hitter and hit 2 home runs.
Doug, do you have a book? Every time we talk about something, you have a story. You need a book.
He's an excellent storyteller. I always write down.
Young Harris College is a baseball. It's one of those 2-year colleges.
I'm saying it in a bad way. I'm just saying you have a lot of.
No, he's so.
I used to be a lot more interested.
JR, leave her alone.
He's so interesting. I love listening to Doug.
I can't hear you guys.
I can say a lot of things. Like, I mean, I've lived in like 13 different states. I've had, I've been overseas, and I've done all these different things because, I was a stupid kid in Chicago growing up, and I realized that once I went away to visit a college, and once I went to the college, like I could just be whatever the hell I wanted. There was no past, and it was just fun to move around and be in a different spot.
What about Nick Zenzel?
Is he going to come up? Are the Reds putting him up? Is he coming up? Is he?
I don't. They said the coach said that, or the manager said Friday they're going to bring him up, but they didn't know if it was going to be a permanent thing.
I don't know if I'm excited if he even comes up. I think he came up a little bit last year. I don't know. I'm not buying the Nick Zenzel thing.
As a Reds fan, though, I do. Obviously we're a small market, so I mean, if we get an extra year by keeping him out a week or so, then I think we have to do that because we're not going to win this year. But
what?
We're not going to win. We're not going to be in the playoffs.
In camp.
Yeah, that's working out real well so far. We can't hit anything. We really can't. No. Our pitching is phenomenal. Our pitching. If anyone said our pitching was going to be this good, we thought we'd have a better record. But we're losing games 1-0. I mean, we're terrible.
And the weather's warm down there too, so it's warmer, right?
Yes.
So you can't blame it on that.
It's like 40 degrees here.
40. It's 36.
40, 36 degrees. In
We
Maine.
have a new hitting coach. We have a new, obviously, but I don't think, does a hitting coach really make that much of a change before a season with a bunch of batters? I mean,
If they pay attention,
well,
I'm sure it does.
I mean, how much work do you do with Votto? I mean, now
Yeah,
Votto's not even hitting well. I mean, you don't go to Votto and say you need to change shit, do you? I mean, you let him be Votto.
No,
But we don't know.
where you see the changes are in the lesser players. No one goes up to Votto and says you're doing this wrong.
Well, that's
Right.
my point. JR was blaming, well, maybe he's done stuff, but my argument would be, well, even the guys who he shouldn't be touching aren't hitting the ball, but I don't know. Maybe, I don't know if he has done anything with them or not, but
Once again, I think this falls in the same category, and I'm not saying I'm a genius, but Yasuo Puig's going to be Yasuo Puig. You're going to get
eventually.
That's what I'm saying, but he's never really that good. Everybody just sees his physique, and they're like, see Zion Williams. He's going to hit 20 home runs and hit like 270. That's just what he's going to do.
I mean, yeah,
That's it.
But he gets like 12 or 13 stolen bases. And it's one of those things when you accumulate across the thing at the end of the year, you look at it and go, that's like the 29th best outfielder, which is pretty good.
Well, but I also think everyone thought that
Nick Markakis is better than him. I don't understand. What do you mean? We look at his stats last year. What do you mean? I mean, guys, I'm serious. This is how close it is.
Hold on.
Markakis had the best year of his career last year.
You got to give anyone who hits 20 home runs anywhere else and then comes and plays in Cincinnati, you got to assume they're going to hit 5 to 8 more.
Why?
Why? Because that ballpark is small and it blows out to right field. I mean, a lot of people
love Cincinnati.
Everyone thought Puig was just going to automatically hit 28 to 30 home runs.
Was wrong. That's the whole point of what I'm trying to say.
He's also a real streaky guy.
Okay, I realize you're wrong. Right at the moment, you can say you're wrong, but experts, and I'm not saying you're not, JR. I mean, a lot of people just thought in that stadium he was going to hit better. But my point is, he's not hitting better. He's hitting worse. So to me, that doesn't have anything to do with Cincinnati or, him coming here or not coming here. I mean, it's just the whole team is struggling.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, people don't think of that in baseball. It happens. Sometimes when the best pitcher goes bad, the whole staff goes bad. I mean, it's a weird sport because everyone thinks of it being individual, but sometimes when your Vottos are struggling, the whole bat, it just can happen. Just like obviously when your better pitcher is having a great time, it picks up everyone. Right now, Votto, and they have Votto leading off and batting second and back to leading off. And he's not hitting well either. And I think that has more to do with anything else. The pressure is on everyone else to hit. So, and I'm saying with that, damn it. Quit me a fun talk.
Well, I'm just trying to figure out who's talking. I'm just trying not to talk over anybody.
Let's go Blue Jackets.
Yeah, they're doing.
You better be picking out some syrup, girl. You better be picking out some syrup because you're not going to be getting any Dayton, Ohio IPA at this rate.
Oh,
She didn't even know that was the actual
You didn't know
bet.
that was the bet?
I love IPAs.
I know.
Your goalie was on fire tonight. Your goalie was on fire.
Right. If Columbus loses, I was going to send you a 6-pack of Dayton IPA. And
Really?
right. But if
Cans?
Columbus wins, then you have to send me some Maine maple syrup. So that's the bet.
Well, I think the yes, deal.
Well, I know it's a deal because JR agreed. Maybe not.
I don't remember, but
He's
whatever.
not in
I don't care.
charge of anything.
Not in charge.
I love an IPA, but no, your goalie was on fire. And I know a thing or two about goalies because back when I was in high school, I used to date the goalie for my high school hockey team.
It wasn't me. So all of a sudden,
Right. You know what they say about goalies, little hands, but a big stick. That's what.
Well, I don't know about that. He's dead now, which is crazy. But
Wait a minute. Where's this? Did they put a big tent around him when this happened?
Well, he was 6'6", and he was like
Holy.
the goalie for our hockey team. He was huge, and so it was high school, and then but then he died like 2 or 3 years later because he went on a long flight and got a blood clot.
Ooh. Now,
He's like died.
that just reminded me. I can't even remember the movie, so maybe it wasn't that good. But what was the movie where the Siamese twins were the goalie? Matt
that's
Damon.
a Doug question.
No, Matt Damon, I'm pretty sure was one of the twins. I think it was.
No. And Greg Kinnear
Kinnear was the
was
other
the
guy.
other one.
They were
Stuck to
goalies.
me. stuck to me.
Right. It wasn't a great movie.
My husband is so smart. Did you hear that?
I just remember them two being a goalie, and I'm like, that's exactly how you would use Siamese twins.
I never actually saw that movie.
The movie's actually it's not a great movie. There's funny things in it, like being a goalie. I'm not sure the rules make that. I mean, I just thought it was funny.
But
what movies?
But your team was on fire tonight.
Thank you.
It was very good. Even though we're my Bruins.
He's a fair weather fan. You don't have to compliment his team when he's talking.
You
Not
do.
from his area. Like he says, he complimented our maple syrup.
Right. I love maple syrup. It's my favorite maple syrup.
It's a great movie that's underrated for a comedian movie is Role Models. You ever seen that movie?
Role Models.
Funny as.
I will give you that. Who's
seen it?
Yeah, the main guy in that is funny in everything.
They're both funny.
Paul Rudd.
Right. Paul Rudd he's never the funny guy, but he's always funny. Does that make sense?
He's got the deadpan.
It's a sarcastic thing. Yeah, like a Ryan Reynolds.
Here comes Doug with his haircut.
But the kids are a riot.
With his
the kids are a riot. Well, a couple of those kids are actually now popular actors.
Well, the one that was tall, I don't know if he's popular anymore, but he was in this is all back in the day too, but he was in that other movie with Jonah Hill. He was in a lot of movies. Anyway.
Right. Stifler. Yeah.
That was after Stifler though.
Well, Stifler was in it though, right?
Yeah. He was the co-star.
Right. All right. I got to put Dan. Oh, here we got Dan in. Let me pop Dan up.
All right. Now Dan's going to kick Beth off.
What's up, guys?
Dan, how you doing with the beard?
Oh, man, I'm tired working. I was just finished spraying my garden, so I couldn't come on earlier, or else you'd be hearing this loud, obnoxious spray sound.
Oh.
That's what Tim hears from me all the time when I start talking. Loud, obnoxious spray.
Dan. But I did think of you tonight, Dan, because during the Reds game, they advertised for the San Francisco series. Obviously, they must be selling a lot of tickets. But San Francisco series, they're doing a $25 ticket special. Plus, that includes a $10 concessions gift card. So technically $15. You get to go in and watch the Reds versus the Giants. So
that's a good deal.
Yeah, it might be one that I'll go to. That might be one that's worth.
Friday night is Tyler Bede's debut. I understand.
Is Bumgarner pitching? Whoa! What is going on here with these gloves? What do we got here?
I had to put on gloves. I'm working.
What
I just couldn't put them on while I was holding the phone. It was giving me issues.
Oh, Dan works in a hospital. Dan, do you work in a hospital?
No.
No.
Grow.
Medical. Okay.
My bad.
Medical marijuana. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm always touching plants, and they've had chemicals or rock wool or whatever I'm dealing with, and I don't want to have it on my hands.
All right.
Jesus, Dan, do you ship that stuff? I mean, are we allowed to talk about this on YouTube?
Only in the state. I have a state sanctioned facility in Oregon.
Do you have
That's a big one too. Yeah.
You can be a caregiver for so many people.
Oh my God, I'm a caregiver for all kinds of people. There's just acres and acres and acres of plants.
In Maine, you can be a grower or a caregiver. I think they call it a caregiver.
Oh, so we're way past that stage. We're all the way to recreational.
Are you back in Maine?
Yeah.
You can be I think it's called a caregiver for so many people.
Yeah, that was for like 20 years.
For 6 people.
That was like 20 years out here in California and Oregon. They've been doing it since '96.
Oh, so you guys are.
It was the same exact program. You were a caregiver. You could grow for patients, etc. You had to have grow notes, and they changed all that like 2014. I want to say.
Well, back in Maine, you can still marry your brother. Like so.
Oh my God.
No, I'm kidding.
I don't even know where that came from.
I'm kidding.
I told you guys not to invite us on.
We're way behind.
Are you two related? Are you two related then?
That's some Game of Thrones shit right there.
Well, because
I'm just saying
we brought up we're one of the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. I just have Roxy Music and the Cure. Am I missing something? Why are they in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Who? The Cure?
The Cure and
The Cure is fucking awesome.
The Cure is awesome. Are you kidding me?
The Cure.
It's a little after your time, but they were really good.
East Coast or West Coast thing, because I don't think Roxy Music and the Cure together have a song that made Midwest radio.
Oh yeah,
Yes, they did. The Cure was on the Crow soundtrack, so they had to make somebody's radio.
Wow.
The Crow soundtrack. That's funny.
That is.
What do you mean? That soundtrack's
That's a great
unbelievable.
soundtrack. They got 9 Inch Nails on
Was
that
that
soundtrack.
recorded
Look at
before
those
or after they shot and killed the star? But
Oh dear, that's sad.
it is sad because I like the guy.
Yeah.
I mean,
But only so many people can rock the Casbah. Like,
I don't know what that means.
no. And then
Okay.
okay, so I
I was thinking the Clash.
Jack,
I was thinking the Clash is what I was thinking of.
how
I
did
got confused with the Cure and the Clash.
right?
I got defensive about the Clash, but the
Clash
Cure.
already in. The Clash deserved to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
That's why I got so feisty.
The Cure 100% deserved to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
Yeah, I would say the Cure is probably better than the Clash. No offense.
No.
No way.
Just
Just
Stop, guys.
Janet
Clash is one of
Jackson-
like the 10 most important bands that have ever come.
Oh, get out of here. Musically, talent-wise, though, I've got to give it to the Cure.
Really?
Not a chance. I bet the Cure's the Clash is 10 years ahead of time of the Cure, right? Aren't they probably 10 years ahead? There's probably no Cure
Easily.
without the Clash. I mean, so some of that doesn't play, but still, why is Janet Jackson now in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame?
Now, she
Are you
should.
serious?
She had those
That's
boobs. She had those
ridiculous.
boobs in the 90s. Do you remember that album?
I
The
do
Janet
remember.
album. That's why
It's a-
she's in there.
It's a matter of like, is that really rock and roll? Is the question really?
No, it's not.
It's pop music, but it's got.
But you can't. Go ahead. Sorry.
I mean, the rock and roll has gotten to this wider definition than it ever had, and like people who used to be on the Mickey Mouse Club will think that they're singing rock and roll songs.
No, the
But that's-
definition now is they don't have enough people to have a ceremony, so they got to put people in that will draw a crowd to watch the damn show.
100.
That's the problem with a lot of Hall of Fames now. Back in the day, back in the 60s and 70s, you got in the Hall of Fame because you deserved it. And some years there was nobody even going into the Hall of Fame because the player didn't deserve it. Now they're always letting 3 and 4 and 5 people in every year because they have to sell tickets. They have to sell the show. And the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is the same way now. You can't have a Rock and Roll Hall of Fame show if you're not putting people in. So now they're
Okay, so
shouldn't be in.
can I ask you a question, Easy?
Yes.
So tonight we saw CC Sabathia strike out his 3,000th batter,
Hall of Fame.
and they were talking about it on the broadcast. Oh, he's a surefire Hall of Famer, and I agreed with him. I just didn't know how you felt about the subject while we're talking about Hall of Fames.
Because
Well,
Hall of Fame's among Easy's favorite subjects.
Right. I'm not a Hall of Fame now. And again, that was taken out of context. When I said I don't care about the Hall of Fame, I don't care about the Reds on my team right now and who's going to be in the Hall of Fame later. And it just doesn't matter to me. But CC Sebastian, I think he's a Hall of Famer. I can't pronounce names. Not from
No,
me.
he's a Hall of Famer.
I do agree. He is a Hall of Fame person. And to me, if anything, longevity to me should be one of the major things that they're measuring anyway. And I know some people say no, but I think that's more important than the guy that does something phenomenal and then only plays 8 years, or 7 years. But I think he'll be in the Hall of Fame. And that's back to my point anyway. They're putting 4 and 5 and 6 people in every year because they have to, instead of saying, nope, no one deserved it this year. Because, we have standards. The standards are gone now. It's all about tickets and selling a show. That's part of my problem with the Hall of Fame.
Well, I'm not trying to skip over the CC Sabathia thing, but the thing with the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame is that the problem is the national radio, they just don't want to play rock and roll anymore. So there are a bazillion good rock and roll bands out there that I'll probably never see, unfortunately, the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Taylor Swift will be for them. So you're right. I agree with you with the selling tickets, because this has kind of slowly been going on since the late 90s, the early 2000s, where they're like, oh, let's put in blah, 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 blah. Though there's 1,000 good rock and roll bands out there, but they get no radio play. They don't get to sell any albums. So
the problem is sales and radio play used to be 2 measuring points. Those are gone now. Those aren't even a thing anymore. So
100%.
Now how do you decide? And that's my point. I would assume the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, if they're not doing crazy things like letting everyone in, they're going to go away, because there aren't, technically 15 years from now, is there rock and roll going on right now? I mean, is Maroon 5 going to get in just because that's the only option we had, and he'll be 70 years old and taking his shirt off and,
Imagine Dragons. Ugh.
Yeah, Imagine Dragons. There you go. I don't know. I really thought this year's Rock and Roll Hall of Fame was lame, which was my issue with a lot of Hall of Fame.
Well, I mean, I Def Leppard got in, and I was a big fan of Def Leppard.
Okay, Def Leppard. Back to my sentimental things. Tonight, again, 37 years tomorrow. So tonight, 37 years ago, I was watching a new up-and-coming rock and roll band on a Friday night on the Don Kirshner rock concert. They actually had Def Leppard playing on that. They were like 19 and 20. They were my age, and they were playing that. That was that. We were drinking, playing poker, and some pickup basketball after the we had the bachelor party thing. Me and my best man and another guy spent the night together, and we ended up watching Don Kirshner. Anybody ever seen?
Whoa! Let's go back to that part of the story.
I mean, it's supposed to be the opposite way.
What? What did I miss? What did I miss? What did I say? No,
you and your best man spent the night together. I thought it was supposed to be
Okay, 37 years ago, me and Mrs. Easy lived together before we got married.
It's like,
how old are you? You can't be like that old.
Beth, we're old.
What do you mean I'm old?
He's Gandalf the Grey.
Years old. So if you were talking about getting married,
I am old enough to be your father. I'm old enough to be your father.
No,
I am. I just look good for my age.
He's older than me.
I turned 57 2 weeks ago.
You're much younger than my parents.
I got this here.
I got married when I turned 20.
Okay.
I turned 20 and got married, and I've been married 37 years. I'm 57.
So speaking of that,
I'm not good at math.
Should Jethro Tull, because Jethro Tull is not in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, but Janet Jackson in? I mean, isn't that a shame?
I mean, Jethro.
No, I'm not a Jethro. I don't think they were that. They had one big album and they did some weird stuff. I don't think,
who cares if they had a big album and they
had a lot of good music, and they were they were the winner of the first Grammy for best heavy metal band.
That was a joke.
That's a puke. Yeah.
I mean,
but they have
because they're really.
Now, you guys can make fun in our area. The band around here that gets made fun of for not being in is Kansas. In the Midwest, Kansas was huge in the 70s. You know, Dustin. No, you can make fun, but Dustin.
They're like a pop rock band.
What?
That's exactly what they are.
No, they were rock. Kansas was rock.
They were rock and roll. They did that weird that third album had that Fire with Fire, which had a little disco-y thing, which is a bit weird, but the first albums are very good.
I'll put Locomotive Breath up to any Kansas song. Song.
Locomotive Breath.
That cat plays the flute. I mean, come on.
Now, Bon Jovi got in last year. Is he rock or pop? I don't know.
Well, that's the whole thing.
He's country. Bon Jovi's more
kind of like a weird demon to not age at all. Like,
yeah, but
if you look at him, he's young looking all the time.
Stuck on the agent.
Is he younger looking than Easy?
He wrote a couple major pop icon songs in the 80s.
Bon Jovi now.
Dude, me and Bon Jovi are
Bon Jovi.
I think Bon Jovi's my age.
That's amazing. Why don't you look like him?
Ooh.
He looks like him, only a little better.
Bon Jovi. Bon Jovi, you know, you look at their early first 3 albums. I mean, they were the glam rock.
They were.
You know what I mean? They were the hair bands changed. But the songs that are good that didn't get played, like Blood on Blood, that's a great song. Yeah. They do have a lot of good songs, and regular people don't know this. Not regular people, but like the people that are actually worried about the Hall of Fame in the first place. Like, I mean, they have some good rock songs.
Bon Jovi sold enough albums to be in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. They were an influencer somewhat.
I don't know.
What the hell is that for?
That is that's got to be Dan's Dan, are you?
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Are you waxing the floor or something?
I was Dan's kid.
That's an inline fan. It's blowing a fucking lot of air around.
Yeah, I had to
walk to the back of the building because I guess I'm out of pots, and so I had to go get more.
Wait, you're in a pot place and you're out of pot.
Pots plural.
Oh,
I'm doing transplants.
I planted parsley and oregano and basil this weekend. That's my
Nice.
I got a green thumb. I did. I grew. Now nothing's come up yet. I started with seeds. We'll see how it goes, Dan.
Man, after
Yeah, I got
you
about
still got-
15,000 plants over here I've cloned in the last couple weeks.
Beth, do
I
you
buy a farm share. No, I buy a farm share. We have a farm like 10 miles up the road. You pay monthly, and they give you a box of all the fresh vegetables that they grow.
I
All washed and clean and ready to go.
I call that a Kroger's. I go to the Kroger.
No, it's a farm share. Or they're organic. It's made like, and I've been doing it. And so you get all whatever seasonally fresh.
Is it random box or do you get to tell them what you want?
No, it's whatever's seasonally. I pay for a year, but I'm not good at that kind of stuff. I'm not good at that kind of
My
stuff.
wife isn't either. She's the worst. She cut
No, but
everything.
you know what? I'm a nurse. Like if you need an IV, if you need a catheter, if you need CPR, if you need to have your life saved, I'm there.
All
But if
right.
you need me
My
to
wife
grow
probably
you
should have been a
plant,
nurse.
You're in trouble.
Nurses are definitely. I mean, if you've ever had, and hopefully no one has had major.
Take it.
I had a daughter with a major illness and had to deal with nurses. Nurses are the best. Nurses by far are running the show. I don't even know now what we're looking at. But JR was sunk down in that. Looks like a pillow.
They need a little private time.
Yeah.
A little wood burning stove. We're getting a whole tour there, Beth. Good job. But yes, definitely nurses deserve a lot of credit. So good job. Good job, Beth. We're giving all the nurses credit.
Oh dear.
Way to go, nurses.
Yay. Our daughter woke up, so Jim threw the laptop over.
I had a daughter that came down with a pretty major illness, and we spent almost 2 weeks in the hospital, and I stayed with her pretty much the whole time. And you learn in a hurry. The nurses have a lot more to do with it than the doctor sometimes. And you get a good nurse every once in a while, and they'll go. You'll say something. They'll go, okay. Well, with Dr. So-and-so, you need to do this or do that. It's kind of funny. They'll let you know if the doctor's even on the right page sometimes.
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a nice balance. It's hard,
It requires
I totally get it. My daughter's type 1 diabetic, and we've been in the hospital several times when she's gone ketoacidotic.
Yeah, I was gonna say today. Yep, and that's no joke. That's a serious emergency.
You're telling me, dude, it's happened twice in the last 2 winters, and it's been horrible.
Oh my gosh, and there's so much fluids in and fluids out. It's yeah.
Yep. So I love the nurses. They're the best, dude.
Yep.
My daughter would have killed her. Unfortunately, there's a few, not nurse. We had to deal with a few. And again, it just, my daughter she has Wagner's disease.
I'm not familiar with that.
Well, trust me, they weren't in our hospital either. It's a very rare, autoimmune disease. It's a blood thing, and it was shutting her kidneys down. It was doing everything, and we didn't know what was going on. And at the time, she was a varsity basketball player. This was in the middle of basketball season, and we thought it was just her joints would swell up, and it was weird. And
it wasn't juvenile.
No, they had to send. She was in the hospital for a week before we even knew what it was. They had to send her blood to only one place in the whole United States tests for Wagner's disease.
Never heard of Wagner's disease.
Yeah, no one has. 2 E's, 2 G's, Wagner's. But and it's once you have it, she'll have it her whole life. But again, you deal with some of these technicians. They had to call in a specialist. Back to you, put in an IV. Her blood veins were all collapsing. So they had to go get a specialist from another hospital in Cincinnati to come up to Dayton, and they couldn't even get IVs in her because
how old was she? Yeah,
she was almost 17. We were at a children's hospital though because she wasn't that old yet. But it was. I'm just saying the nurses by far were the solution. I mean, it was just amazing. How helpful and thoughtful they are. And I get it. Doctors aren't there for that part, but
they oversee the thing, but the nurses facilitate the care. And
Yeah.
now I have to learn about Wagner's disease. Like now I'm going to learn, like read about it and learn about it.
Well, it's funny. We have two medical universities in our area, right? State and UD both have, medical things. Both brought multiple classes through to see her specifically because the teachers would go, "You're probably never going to see Wagner's disease. We want you to see it."
Those autoimmune diseases are really difficult. Like they're hard to diagnose, they're hard to treat because it's so specific to the person that's experiencing it. Yeah. So I imagine that was really hard for you and your family.
She had to go on chemo and do all kinds of stuff because it was shutting her body down. Her body. But Wagner, and it's not called Wagner's anymore, even though that's what you can Google, because Wagner's, the guy that's named after, is a German Nazi doctor that founded it, and then so a lot of people don't like to call it that because of the
granulomatosis. That's what it's called.
Yeah, GLS is what I know. The bracelets we wore for a few years all had GLS, on them.
I'm going to look at that because the hospital that I work at is the one that I work at now is very small, and so we don't deal a lot with pediatrics. So that'll be interesting. I'll have to research that because I want to know about
my daughter, originally, my daughter was at that age, where I don't want strangers coming in and looking at me, but she got to the point where she was so sick and she just felt bad. And she's like, you know what, if it helps the next person, come on in. She eventually got the other way around. All right. Let y'all, because she had all these little dots all over her feet. It was just a weird, like I said, the disease attacked her kind of a weird way, even though the little red dots are what kicked them off to what it might be. Well, the little red dots were actually blood. It was blood underneath her skin that was bursting.
Petechiae.
Yeah. So it was the whole bottom of her feet were nothing but these little red. It was really a strange, like I said, it was a pretty major thing in our family for a year. And she still has it, and we still have to deal with it, but just in a different way. She's on medications, all the time, but it's manageable. You're trying to, with the autoimmune, you're trying to prevent flare-ups and stuff like that.
Yes, and it's your own body fighting off what's attacking you. You know what I mean? So that what's making.
And the problem is she's an athlete. She's an athlete, and they even say that's the problem. When you're an athlete, you take your body to an extreme, so then your autoimmune wants to kick in. And so it really is a thing. And again, back to what started all this. That's my point. You spend a couple weeks in the hospital, 24/7. You learn that the nurses, to even say glue's not right. They're more than the glue. It's just amazing.
Well, it's hard. You got to catch us between card breaks. You know what I mean?
Well, you know what? And you just get, and now, hey, were there some better than others? Sure. And are there some that were on the lower, every once in a while you get a few.
At the end of the day too. Like I think nursing is very exhausting. Well, and some days like I'm on point and I'm sympathetic and I'm always sympathetic, but there's days where I'm more caring. But it's my fifth night shift in a row. And I've had to and I've only slept 5 hours between each shift. Like I'm not as never mind. I'm good all the time.
As the dad who was in the room with her all the time, that was the trick I would do though. When I would see a nurse for the first time or whatever, or you just, or it's been a long day and I just see him, and I'll say, hey, I would say, are you just starting? Are you just coming on? Or, what's your shift? Because I learned, because that's me, if they would say, you know what? Yeah, unfortunately, I'm filling in for so-and-so. This is my third day in a row. Then I even treated them different. You learn, hey, I get it. That's a long ass time. It's, we'll give you a break, or,
I never say that to patients. And that's nice that you took that consideration. They'll say, oh, blah, blah, and I say, this works out well for my life.
Yeah.
Organized. I'm like, it's perfect. Everything's fine. Don't worry about me. I sleep fine.
You realize you have other things, they have things they're worried about as patients and they don't want to hear your problems sometimes, but I'm just saying, hail to the nurses.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Dan.
Douglas, why did you decide to go for the flat top haircut? You went from looking like the hippie to like the super military guy.
Yeah,
that's awesome.
This is really messy.
Awesome.
This isn't the way it normally looks. I've had like a busy day. I have a guest.
Holy Dan!
So my hair's.
That wasn't me.
Oh, wasn't you? I was
flat top.
no, but
It's a little.
Tell him why you grew the hair. He grew the hair out for cancer.
I remember him talking about it. I thought it was really cool, but he just looked like the hippie for the longest time. I got used to this like picture in my head of what Doug looks like, and then
This
like
is
all of a
more
sudden
what
he
it
comes
looks
in looking like the drill sergeant in boot camp, and I'm like, oh man.
They had to cut it a little shorter than I wanted to. I mean, I usually go when I tell a barber, I say like, I'm 50 years old and I have all my hair. I don't want to look like I'm cutting it short because I'm balding, and so my hair is usually a little longer than this, so it'll grow out.
Right.
But right now there's nothing here. But they wanted to take full 5 inches, you know.
Right. This wasn't the most handsome podcast in the world to be on YouTube. I had, Dan has to bring the looks to the show. So
I wasn't hating at all. I just was commenting, and just I didn't mention it last week, and I wanted to, so I figured I'd mention it this week.
You know, we could talk sports sometime.
We could.
I'm totally into that. Trust
right,
me. I try to talk about CC Sabathia, and everyone's like, "No, let's talk about rock and roll." And I'm like, "All right, cool."
Fine. And we have this discussion every time.
That is the nature of this show. It's like it goes where it wants.
40 other shows out there talking about CC, but we answered the question. I mean, I don't even think it's an argument, to be real honest.
Yeah, well, it would have been more interesting if one of us thought he wasn't, but all of us think he is.
Yeah.
I mean, the truth is, he's probably the last guy to hit 3,000 strikeouts for probably a decade.
I didn't realize he was only the third left-hander ever to do that, which I thought was really cool with Randy Johnson, Steve Carlton, and him, which is neat.
Yeah, because there have been some you would kind of think like Christy Mathewson had done it, or Koufax was in like 2700s, but he had the short career. But, yeah.
What the hell was that noise?
I have no idea.
That's Jared Price. Maybe can you mute just then?
No, you know what? On this new software, if I hit mute, it mutes everybody, I think.
Oh, but you removed them, which works.
Hold on. I'm going to hit mute. See? There. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. Now, did I hear right? Is CC now probably going to be the only person that pitches to Vlad Sr. and Jr.?
Ooh, that's cool.
I thought that's what they said. I mean, yeah, the odds now of someone else.
Has Vlad? I guess Vlad's been out of the league for what? This is his 6th year because he got in the Hall of Fame last year. No, 7th year out of the league, I guess, huh?
Yeah, I just know
that's crazy to think that.
That's who they said. So I'm assuming there's nobody that's pitched as long as CC.
There's got to be players that have been at least around in the league 7 years.
Vlad's been out longer than 7 years.
What was his last year? And go look it up real quick. I don't have a computer in front of me.
I'm trying to look it up just to make.
Yeah, it's been more than.
Because I know I saw him play in a 2007 All-Star game in San Francisco, and he was in the home run derby.
Okay,
he played at age 36 for Baltimore.
Okay, what year was that?
2011.
Yeah, so it's 8 years ago. Fuck, I guess it's like 7. I was right, pretty much.
All right. So who's the next, other than CC? Who's our next oldest pitcher out there right now?
Well, I mean, I think Kershaw's in his 8th year, isn't he?
Yeah, Kershaw's been around 10 years. No, this is his 10th year.
All right.
Yeah. But he did pitch in the American. He did play in the American League, pretty much the end of his career. So there might have been.
Well, he played for the Expos, the majority of it, right?
Well,
then the Angels. He won the MVP with the Angels.
From 2005 on, he played for the Angels, but his last 2 years he played for Texas for 1 year and then Baltimore for 1.
Yeah, he went to the World Series with Texas.
Yep. Yeah.
I saw him in the World Series with Texas.
He was an All-Star that year.
But again,
yeah.
I said it in the chat room earlier today. Vlad Sr., back in my day, in my memory, I'm not going by stats or anything like that because I'm not that guy, Dan, but I remember, that was in my heyday of watching a lot of baseball. I think there was a year there where he was the best player in baseball.
He won the MVP.
Right. I mean, offense, defense, he did it all. I mean, I don't see his kid. I'm guessing because, I don't think his kid's going to ever be that defensively. So I don't think he's ever going to be, even if he comes the greatest hitter of all time, he's never going to be the best all-around player.
But here's the thing, Easy. His bat is on another level than his dad.
Okay. Yeah, but
all right, and I'll explain to you why. So, I don't know if you remember anything about Vlad. One of my favorite things about him was that he could hit a ball anywhere, but he was a free swinger. And he would. You remember the time that he hit the ball that hit the ground first and then bounced up and still hit it? Like he did ridiculous things where he would just swing all over the place. Vlad Jr. has a great understanding of the strike zone. Is going to be more of a Miguel Cabrera type hitter. We're going to see him hit for average and power going forward. Where Vlad got by early in his career by just being he hit for average by being just this crazy good hitter with contact skills. But he probably could have been better if he had a little bit more patience at the plate.
Okay, but I'm back to, though, you know me. The problem is you're saying that all based on some number in your head that you think he's going to do. His dad has done it. I mean, that's the difference. I mean,
I'm not arguing that his dad's great.
You can tell me all this about Junior, but he hasn't done it yet. And he may not do it. You can tell me
there's no way he won't do it.
You Dan,
I mean, Vlad's an awfully high bar.
You know how many no-miss things I've heard in my life as a sports fan? I've heard a lot.
I mean,
sure, and I've seen a lot.
That's right.
Realistically, he could have a Fred McGriff type career, and that wouldn't be the Vlad Guerrero Jr. bar. It's really high to get to that point.
Well, that's my
I think he's going to live up to it.
Yeah, but the bar you're putting up there is so high.
How high do you? I mean, we're talking like inner circle great players high. Yeah, it's pretty high. But from what I've seen from him on film and in the minor leagues, and what the scouts say about him, dude, very, very, very rarely. Have you ever seen a player? I don't know if you pay attention to scouting grades, but they use a 20-80 scale, and they gave him an 80 and an 80 in his hit tool and his power tool, which is unheard of in my opinion.
Against which professional pitchers were that rating done?
No, I mean, it's done based on looking at the way he approaches the game.
But that's my point, though. It's not done.
It's looking at it from a pure skill set. These are the same scouts that can assess a guy and tell you a guy like Mike Trout is going to be great, and he came up and was great. They told us Ronald Acuna was going to be great, and he came up and was great. Very rarely.
For every one guy they get right, they get two guys wrong.
Time out, Dan. They get more wrong than they get right.
I understand that, but the percentage of guys in that upper echelon, and from, like I said, my own eyes tell me otherwise. My own eyes tell me this guy is going to be a star.
And again, under what professional pitching did your eyes see all that?
Okay, and so do you remember spring training of last year, the very last game in Toronto, or they played it in Montreal, and he hit the walk-off homer to end the game? He could have been on the roster last year. He was good enough then, but they let him play in the minors where he hit, I don't know what, almost 400.
I am not.
It was ridiculous.
I'm not saying he's not good enough to be in the pros, and I'm not even saying he won't be the best hit we've ever done. I'm saying none of what we think's going to happen matters until it happens.
I agree,
and that's my point. Professional pitching has made some of the best bats in the minors look bad. I mean, to a point where they don't even stay in the pros very long. I mean, it's just, and unfortunately, my problem with the kid is. And again, I'm saying this now as devil's advocate because I think he's going to be a good player, but because his defense is, I'm not going to use the word bad. He doesn't bring any defense much. So if he can't hit, he's done. You know what I mean?
I mean, the scout.
He will be perfectly fine.
Okay. I don't think he's a bad defender.
Well, he's not, but
he's no Nolan Arenado, but
he is good enough of a defender that if he's going to hit the way he's going to hit, he'll have a job.
But I'll tell you what, a lot of players get better defensively at the major league level.
Andrea's getting mad. Andrea, and you're right.
What's she mad about?
We get it because
go back to not talking about sports.
No, we were talking about sports, but she was involved in this. What does Vlad have? So good compared to everyone else.
The hair.
I can tell just by looking at Vlad, he is going to battle staying in shape. I agree with that also. I do think his body composition is going to be an issue. Yeah,
but they said the same thing about Miguel Cabrera. And you remember early on in Miggy's career, he had a big problem with drinking. It wasn't like a front page story, but if you followed Miguel Cabrera, you knew he had a problem with drinking and staying in shape. And once he quit drinking and got his shit together, he became a Triple Crown player. And like I said, we don't know if Vlad Guerrero's going to have those same type of demons. But if he starts playing like he is, there's no reason he's not going to want to stay in shape to be absolutely dominant in this game.
Hunger. And I don't mean hunger to stay in shape. I mean hunger of the game. I'm not sure that's the problem with people like him coming up. They don't have the hunger that his dad had. They don't have the hunger because...
You were incorrect.
No, I mean, I think once you get to that point, and you like he signs, somewhere in there he's going to sign a deal for $50 million, and once you got like $12 million in the bank, you just don't have the hunger you have at one point. I boxed in college, and I was pretty good. I was pretty good for a college guy. But when I went to the local gym and I had to fight these Hispanic dudes that were doing this as a career, it's like they wanted to kill everybody. I was doing it for exercise. There's just a different thing,
right?
I mean,
Andrea is saying his defense is actually quite good. I'm just going by other. I mean, the eyeballs I've heard. I mean, I'm only going by what other people have said.
His defense isn't horrible.
No, I'm not saying horrible. I'm saying his defense is average. He's an average third baseman. Average third baseman that don't hit 35 home runs sometimes don't play much. That's my point.
That's not true.
What do you mean it's not true?
It's not true.
You can't be.
They don't all have to be Nolan Arenado.
Not all of them.
There's very few Nolan Arenados and Matt Chapmans of the world. Guys that are just outstanding. Manny Machado. That's about the top 3 guys I could think of defensively at third base. And other than that, name me another guy that you can tell me that stands out in your eyes.
That's my point.
The point being, there's 32 teams or 30 teams in baseball, so that leaves 27 other third basemen out there
that are all hitters. That's why half these teams. That's why in fantasy finding third baseman sometimes a struggle. Why? Because they'll switch third baseman in a heartbeat because they're going to do.
I drafted Vlad Jr.
They're going to go with guys who hit. That's the point. Third base is not a defense. Most third basemen aren't defensive players. They're guys that can hit the ball, and they stick them at third and say, you know what, cover 2 feet each way, and the shortstop will get the rest. So, I mean, I'm just saying that's what I see, and that's why I'm saying with him, one, if he's a DH, it's not even an issue, but. That's only fine if he keeps hitting and he hits as good as you guys all think he's going to do.
I think he will.
I don't even think he has to hit that good to be a regular, DH or regular third baseman. The pedestal people are putting him on are just,
but the pedestal is a good. I will argue it's a good thing for the game. When have we seen this type of hype around a baseball player coming up since Mike Trout? I can't remember. I mean, there was hype around Ronald Acuna Jr. last year, but that was for baseball people. Vlad Jr. is on a national, even a North American level that's different from any other player we've seen in almost a decade. It's good for baseball. We're talking about him right now, aren't we?
My worry is that
we are, but we don't count
because the bar is so high. I much like Easy think he's not going to live up to that. He could be very, very, very good.
He's got the pedigree. He's been around the game his whole life. What would make you think he could? Prince Fielder was just as good as Cecil, if not a little bit better, up until his neck injury, and there was a ton of hype around him.
I'm just saying, if he finishes his career with some really crazy numbers, like 2,975 hits and 475 home runs, and 1,400 RBIs, it's not what they're saying. It's not the second coming of Vlad Guerrero. It's close. It's 90%.
But they've never compared him to Vlad Guerrero. He's a different type of player, though.
I hear the comparisons all the time.
No, he's a different type of player. Vlad Guerrero, when he first came up, he was a 20-20 guy, 25-25 guy. You remember, early in his career, he stole a lot of bags. He was that great defensive outfielder with the huge arm. Do you guys remember how great his arm was? Yeah. And that was one of the huge things. He was a true 5-tool player. Where, like I said, Vlad Jr. is more of that hit tool type of a player.
I'm not arguing that.
But they're comparing him to more of like a Pujols or a Miguel Cabrera type generational type hitter, like a consistent over 300, over 30 and 100 every year, like the cornerstone of a franchise type guy. And I don't see why he can't live up to those expectations.
Well, one, I think Albert Pujols is a higher bar at some level than his father. Those are still really high bars. Basically, if he doesn't make the Hall of Fame, he's going to have a disappointing career.
Right, and Andrea
Vlad Jr., you're saying that if he does not make, I disagree.
Based on what you're saying, everybody is saying he's going to do. That's the truth. It's less than what's expected.
I see no reason why he can't do what people expect of him.
Well, that's why people say it. They think he can do it. It's just, I mean, I don't buy the hype. I guess that's the only way I can say it, Dan. I'm because I don't buy the hype on anybody.
On anybody, huh?
No, I want to see it. I want to see it.
I get it.
I wanted to see Bryce.
Dude, I've watched so much tape on him. I feel like I've watched like 4 hours of YouTube footage on him in the minors.
And how many of those hours were against major league pitching again?
But guys that are probably in the majors right now.
Thank you. But that doesn't even matter. That's my problem with minor league pitching. Minor league pitching, they're having the pitchers do stuff. It doesn't even matter. You know, they'll tell the pitcher, I don't care who you're facing. I want you to throw 97 fastballs tonight. So they're not even mixing it up. It's not the same. I'm sorry. You can tell me all you want. Facing minor league pitching in minor league games means nothing because they're not looking at the batting situation the same that the majors do. So
I think we need to revisit this conversation September 15th. And you should put it on the calendar. We should put it on a Google Calendar and have it go off September 15th and go, okay, guys, we need to come back and revisit Vlad Jr. and we'll see where he's at then.
Vlad Guerrero could be hitting 330 with 50 home runs and 130 RBIs, and he still wouldn't be a Hall of Famer yet.
Well, that's my point, Dan.
We're not saying he's going to be a Hall of Famer after 1 year.
We need to revisit this in September of 2038.
I understand, but we should just see where he's standing at the end of this year and then kind of revisit this conversation because it'll give us a little bit more of a basis and go, look, here's this body of work for a season. Let's discuss this and say, okay, here's what we think going forward.
Here's why I don't even think that matters. Because there's been many of people in professional baseball that have that first year is great. It's the second and third year that become an issue because now pitchers are seeing them for the fifth time, the sixth time. They haven't. The batter hasn't adjusted. Maybe he learns. Right, I got all these skills, but he doesn't have the skill to make adjustments.
Baseball is a game of adjustments. That's how the truly great ones distinguish themselves.
That's my point. He hasn't had to do that yet, so we don't know he can do.
But he also has a Hall of Fame father to be his mentor and get him through times like that where a lot of players don't have that source to lean on. So I think that's truly an advantage for him.
Okay, but that's not my point is we can have this conversation exactly 1 year from now. And he could have hit 45 home runs this year and batted 320. My opinion won't change. Not in 1 year. Not that he's going to I have seen many of Hall of Famers. I've seen many of Hall of Fame years for guys that only played 2 or 3 more years and then years from again because they couldn't adjust after that great year. So 1 year is still not enough for me with him. Now, is it enough for me to draft him in a fantasy league? Maybe. That's different. But my point is
why are we talking about a guy going in the Hall of Fame in his rookie season? I don't think that's justified for any player.
Which is exactly the problem.
You put on him. We're arguing the numbers that you put on him. I never said Hall of Fame. You put the numbers.
I'm arguing the basis of what type of player his ceiling has been projected to be. I'm not saying tomorrow he's this player. I'm just saying when it's all said and done, if everything goes right, he could turn into this caliber of player.
I use the word Hall of Fame, but the word you use was actually a higher thing. You said he's a generational talent.
I believe so.
Which means that he's he's Mickey Mantle.
When I say generational talent, think about it. In our generation, who's the number one talent in baseball for this newest generation of players? I would say it's Mike Trout. Do you disagree?
Trout.
But Trout's been in the league now for 7 years. So going forward, that next type generational player, I could see Vladdy Jr. possibly taking on that role. Does that make sense?
I mean, I could see it happening, but the odds, I mean, if I were a betting person, I would bet against it because the odds are there's too much that can get in the way of that. And, that's just it.
Just based on what we're seeing now, we can argue how great Acuna Jr. is, and we can argue he's even gotten better this year based on some of the metrics that are out there in terms of what he's doing with his hard hit numbers and stuff like that. And Acuna's great. I just don't know if he's going to be that type of player that could transcend baseball into another level. Vladdy Jr. could be almost the face of baseball.
Okay. But Andrea even said it out there. Andrea is saying the problem is, Dan, this pressure that you're putting on him even is not good.
I'm not putting it on him. He's playing in a small market in Toronto. It's not like he's playing for the Yankees.
Dan, you are putting it on him because most fans are like you. Most of them are putting him, and people in his own community. He is coming up thinking he's going to be a Hall of Famer. I'm sure. I mean, he's heard it.
That's good.
Oh, it's not good. It
is good.
No, it's something his father didn't play with. His father didn't play with that until later in his career. This kid's playing with it already in his first week. It's asinine to think
in terms of expectation. No one's giving him expectation. We just see the potential and the ceiling. No one's going, oh my God, you have to be this player immediately. But it would be great if he could turn into that player.
His opening game, like people were cheering like a long fly ball, like it was a grand slam to win the World Series. There's a different. I mean, it's part of what you're saying. That's good. Like
it's exciting for a fan base with a rebuilding team. My dad was in DC, and my dad's not a huge baseball fan. And I was living in California at the time, and I called him, and he actually made it to see Steven Strasburg's first baseball game in DC. I don't know if you guys ever remember that. It was super electric, and the fans were so into it. But it changed baseball in DC from a town that was never a baseball town. Okay,
that's one of my more. It's probably.
But I'm just simply stating what a player like that can do to a city and a fan base.
Okay,
it's beneficial for that Toronto fan base to have a player like Vlad Jr. so recognizable that even if he doesn't live up to the hype, it doesn't matter. He's already good for the game in so many ways.
Harper live up to his hype in Washington?
Not necessarily, but was he a major draw for that market? Was he selling tons of jerseys? Was he a reason that so many young kids came to the park? Of course. And he'll do the same thing in Philadelphia. And even if he doesn't finish with the numbers that we expect from him, I don't think Bryce Harper's career is ever going to be a disappointment.
But would Vlad Jr. be if he had Bryce Harper numbers based on what
I don't look at it like that. Easy. I look at it in a different way.
When Harper signed his contract,
the way being, I just explained to you that I think that he's good for the game on so many different levels besides the stats.
When Harper signed that contract with the Phillies, there were a good number of people who said that he didn't deserve that much money. You know,
that's fine.
He's never done anything that great. I mean, I'm not saying it's over for him, whatever, but I think that Harper, as talented as he is more hype than talent.
That's fine, but hype is good for the game of baseball. We need hype. Hype is what draws these young kids to the game. And we talked about this before. They recognize more with players than they do with franchises, this young generation of kids.
Right.
So Vlad Jr. is important to a young generation of fans who connect more with players than they do with teams. And he can be the kind of player that kids in Chicago can be fans of Vlad Jr. if they want to. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right? Until he fails. And then that's the problem. We put all this.
But what's your idea of failing? If he doesn't hit 330 with 30 homers, is that failing to you?
Based on what you said, I would say that's failing to you.
Well, it's not failing to me. I'm saying that's his absolute best case scenario ceiling. Okay, I'm not expecting him to hit that year 1, year 2, but if he does it maybe in his prime when he's 27, he may have those type of seasons. Is the point I'm trying to make.
Looking back at like Harper, who had similar hype, it's like most people think that most of his years of play have been disappointing. He's had like one great season. So
I broke this down for Dave, and one of Harper's biggest problems, he's never had protection. And Washington, he didn't have a ton of protection in that lineup. He's gonna get better protection in that Philly lineup, and I think you're gonna see a huge season out of him this year. Especially
I think he's a great ball player, but the truth is, what basically I'm bringing up is that most people saw individually, if you went season by season, except for that 1 year where he hit like 330, every year was a bit disappointing.
I am just saying, if he has the same career as his father, he'll be okay. That's my point. But his father, for at least 1 year, if not 2 years, was the best all-around player in baseball. I don't know that this kid has that ability because of his defense. I think that's what started all this. And Andrea is still pissed at us in the chat room for other stuff. Why? And Andrea's saying hype is not what I would describe Harper. I thought, in my opinion, Harper was the last guy I remember hyped like this, right?
Yeah. In a way, he was, supposed to be the kind of LeBron James type player. Remember he was the kid that, his senior year of high school, he played junior college baseball, and he was on the cover of Sports Illustrated, and he was all hype. Vlad Jr. wasn't that player. Vlad Jr. became an international signee and came about baseball in an entire different way. He didn't get drafted like Harper did, so there wasn't the hype behind him.
In the international signing market, he was like the
number one.
Really, he was the number one guy?
He was number one guy that year. Yeah, I'm 100% positive. I signed him in one of my dynasty leagues.
I didn't think he was number one either, though. Now you say
I know for a fact he was. Go look it up. You can go on MLB Pipeline right now and go look it up.
That's why Doug's my sidekick. Doug's good at that stuff.
I just have a good memory when it comes to certain things like that.
You're my favorite. Dan, and I apologize last night. I fell asleep before you maybe did or didn't get on the air. Did you?
We did figure it out. It was just Andrew was on and Doug was on. We were on a 3-way call. And we were trying to figure it out. We had not figured out what was going on with my stuff. For some reason, it would not connect properly.
So we ran it from mine and we went on together.
It was my first call all night. I was wore out.
I was telling Easy at the beginning. It's like you and I, Dan, we speak so easily together that I might somewhere down the line drop this to be with you more often because we're just two fantasy geeks that come at it from a different perspective. So it's actually quite interesting. I mean, like time flies.
No, we've been having fun, dude. I've been enjoying myself. It's been good times.
It is fun. And even me, again, you guys are above me, but I still like throwing in my 2 cents and stir up the shit. But because I do come at it with a different opinion or a different eye than you and Doug. Because
I love your perspective. It always cracks me up because it's complete polar opposites of what I'm doing. It's my favorite.
At it from a different kind of. I mean, we had that conversation earlier in the show where I consider myself a big fan of the Kentucky Derby, but I don't know any of the names of the horses. I just don't ever miss the Kentucky Derby. I want to see it. I want to watch the race.
I want to go to one year. I think that'd be fun.
And on Lenny's page on Facebook, I put up the link for my goofy fantasy Kentucky Derby thing, so you can go play fantasy Kentucky Derby with me.
I will get in there. Do we have to have a certain number to get in there?
No, it's just if you go to the thing, hit the button.
Okay, it's free. It's free. Right.
It's free. A friend of mine did a fantasy curling league, and I'm like, I should do this with horses. I like them, so I'm kind of playing with ideas, and if I can figure out how he backbones his curling thing, maybe I'll do like a real website somewhere down the line.
Andrea said I said something dumb. Anybody I vote, I probably did. That's all. I don't even know what I say half the time. But Andrea,
Easy, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
Are you old enough to know any like really cool old dudes that are like super into horse racing that know like so and so's a mutter and has like a limp leg or has a great trainer that does these things? Like I need that kind of information because every time I go to the casino, I run into a bunch of those guys and I always want to sit and talk with them because they crack me up, man.
No, I mean, they know their track. I used to be a regular at when I lived in Keller, Texas, outside of Fort Worth. I used to go to Grand Prairie like probably 2 weekends a month, and you get to know those guys, but you get to know like the horses and the jockeys.
They're smart though. They know so much about them. It's just amazing to me because I know absolutely nothing. I'm like, oh, that one has a cool name. I'm going to bet on him,
But that's the stuff like the Derby is like. The truth is there's none of this because you're grabbing like the best guy from New York and the best guy from Florida. And like this year, even there's an entry from Japan. Who is
what?
I learned a new word in horse racing. Do you know what a ridgeling is? The horse from Japan is a ridgeling. A ridgeling is a horse who, I think it's the first transgendered horse to run in this thing. It's basically a guy horse. It's a guy horse where like the testicles never come down, so we have female attribute.
Only in 2019 do we have a transgender horse running in the Kentucky Derby. That made my day right there.
I think it's wonderful. When the thing came out,
is he considered LGBTQ?
I have no idea. I don't think the LGBT has picked up on this before.
We really need to alert them of me. I'm going to tell my wife and see if she can tell some people on Instagram or something.
I've never heard the word ridgeling before. Basically, what they do is they force the testicles not to drop, so that it doesn't get masculine qualities. So I guess it's more flexible as a runner. And that's the one, like they have the 19 horses got there by qualification. There is a special invitation and that horse got it. It's a ridgeling. Have you ever heard that phrase before?
Do they have non-gender specific names? Like cat or like, things like that?
They always have names like the names of guys are like win-win-win or maximum security.
It was not that long ago before we had our first female horse to win the Kentucky Derby. That for a long time they weren't even allowed in. Believe it or not, as sexism in racing for a long time that girl horses couldn't even be in the race. But no, back to here's my thing where people.
Well, that's weird. The name of the horse is Master Fencer.
I love that. I'm a master fencer. I try to do a lot of mastering with a non-sharp object, but I am just above average at everything. Meaning I know more than the average person about fantasy baseball. I know more than the average person about sports. I know more than the average person, but I'm not at, and Andrea's saying, I'm not at level of, like I said, like you said, at the horse thing. I know enough when I go to a horse race to read the race guide and to make a few, I might even question the word educated decisions, but I know enough to do that. But I'm not that guy you would want to ask my opinion. You know what I'm saying? I mean, like I said, I'm a big Kentucky Derby race fan, but I don't know the horses. So some fan would go, well, how big a fan are you if you don't know the names of the 19 guys that are racing right now? What kind of fan are you if you don't know the favorite? That doesn't mean I'm not a fan of watching this event. It doesn't mean I'm not a fan of watching a lot of baseball games without knowing the stats of everyone who played the game before these guys. I mean, and I know there's people like Dan out there.
Are you saying that's a problem, or is that like you're just saying that you don't have that skill set?
It's not even that I have it or don't have it. It's that I elect not to
care.
Care's not right. Caring wouldn't be the right word. I don't find that knowing that will change my perspective enough. So a waste of time.
I don't feel like it changed my perspective. It's just what I'm into. I necessarily, I guess it's what's interesting to me.
But that doesn't, unfortunately. And I'm going to go at this. The people, and I respect you, and I think you understand when I find that the baseball fans that think like you do take it a lot more personal to the guy who doesn't think that way than fans of other sports.
What is that? I don't understand what that means. Can you just clarify that real quick?
Yes. I guess I have found in chat rooms and even before I got involved in Lenny, in the chat rooms, in the baseball fantasy and some of that, the fantasy, the real guys really into the stats and that are really into watching the players, the guy who knows who's in single A this year, that'll be moving up to double A, look down on people who just enjoy the game of baseball.
See, I don't have that kind of complex whatsoever.
I'm not saying you do. I'm just saying I think I find that more though in baseball. In football, the guy who knows everything seems to have a little more, and the word respect's not right. I don't even know the words. I don't.
See, I find it the opposite way around. I feel like the football guys are everywhere, and there's so many of them that think they know so fucking much, and I'm just like, I can't handle the year-round fantasy football crap. It honestly gets on my nerves.
Okay, but I think that's kind of playing right into what I'm saying, because I would say then, what about off-season baseball? Does that get on your nerves?
No, but I don't rub it in people's face.
Okay, but
the off-season baseball and off-season football, there has to be something legitimate to talk about.
But the difference is during the off-season, we don't talk about fantasy baseball drafts. We just don't. We talk about free agency most often is what we're discussing in the off-season. Do you agree? We're not. And a lot of these football shows, all they're talking about is, ADP. And I'm like, dude, you guys are killing me with drafts. Like, I can't talk about a fantasy football draft in freaking January. I just can't do it.
Okay, but that's because you're not into football as much as baseball. I'm not.
You're right.
Okay, that's my problem. And that's kind of where I was going. The baseball people seem to have a lot more problem with the football and the basketball people than the football and the basketball people have with the baseball people.
Well, the thing about it is like there is live, real, meaningful games going on. And I understand like taking a pause for the NFL draft and even at some level the combine for a day or two.
Sure, I agree.
But the fact that like next week somebody's going to have a long conversation about something, like the Sirius Network thing will have 14 hours of programming on football and only 3 on baseball.
Don't get me started with Sirius XM, dude. They pissed me off so bad recently.
I don't mean to knock them particularly, but it's the nature of everything.
No, I want to knock them specifically about the stupid prop bet radio. I actually cannot stomach it, dude. Like, I used to listen to The Drive with Ray Flowers and with Kyle Elfrink and all those guys. And, dude, it's turned into prop bet radio, and I cannot stomach. And they're up there talking about betting on, like, the Grammys and shit. And I'm just like, you are killing me with this crap. They have a fake budget, and they talk about their fake bets all day long. And I'm just like, you guys are horrible. What happened to baseball or just general sports fantasy talk? This is not what I canceled my subscription this month.
This is the perfect conversation for a guy who's pimping a fake bet on Kentucky Derby.
Well, my argument with all that is, Dan, do you think they're not doing this because it's financially the way they have to go? I mean,
my argument is there's enough bandwidth on that station. If you really think that prop bet radio is something that you go hire a bunch of handicappers, because I'm sure they're out there, and leave the fantasy guys to fantasy sports, and let's have two separate channels.
Why? They have a channel now. It's working for them, obviously.
Not for me.
Aren't there like?
And I'm not the only one complaining.
Okay.
Aren't there like 7 different sports channels?
Baseball people are complaining.
No, fantasy people are complaining.
Oh no, I mean, I'm a fantasy person. I'm not complaining. It's changed. I don't
a lot.
But it's the same point. I also, during football season, listen to the NFL Network on Sirius. I also, during baseball season, listen to MLB Network.
I do as well.
Okay, then that's kind of my argument.
But I can get that through the MLB at Bat app as well for free.
Okay.
So why would I pay for it there if Fantasy Network was the main reason why I paid for their services?
Well,
I'll be real with you.
I pay for it for a lot of reasons.
But I can get everything else on a different platform just as easily.
Okay.
For free, because I can listen to the games for free on the MLB at Bat app. I don't have to pay a service a month.
Okay. But I also listen to Howard Stern. I listen to the comedy stuff. I listen to Octane. I listen to certain stuff. I mean, we can argue about that, whatever.
I don't, though. I'm just simply saying that they lost someone who is specific to a certain channel for no good reason. I don't understand why they changed the platform.
What?
They have a hard time.
They wouldn't do it if they were making money. They weren't making money doing it, so they have to move on. There's so many free fucking podcasts. There's so many. You don't need Sirius XM for fantasy. You can go a lot of places, including Lenny Melnick Fantasy.
It wasn't that I needed it. I just enjoyed it.
Okay. My point is there's a lot of places out there, but my argument is those are the reasons it happened. Not it didn't just happen because they don't like Dan.
I never said that. God damn it, Easy.
It changed because they didn't have enough viewers. The guy driving his Beamer that has Sirius.
They have no idea who's listening.
Hear about gambling?
They don't. What Doug just said is true because Lenny's explained this before.
Yeah, they have no idea who's listening. I mean, the truth is, like the Arbitron thing. If you're actually on an Arbitron thing, you get this little tag. It'll pick up what you're listening to. And the truth is that that the number of households, the number of cars that actually have Sirius Network are so small that it's barely picked up at all. So the question is, how many people are actually listening to it? And what they really do is they judge it by social media. You know, they look at their guys and they go, how many people are tweeting about us?
Now, here's where I'm going to argue that I think you're wrong, Doug. I think you're correct with the satellite aspect of this. Satellite radio now is a much smaller part of their service now. Their service now is streaming. And on streaming, they know exactly how many people are listening to what, and they know exactly what you're listening to. If you're using their streaming service, Doug, they know specifically that today at 3:00 you listen to such and such. They can tell you that. They didn't know that with satellite because satellite was beaming a signal down and nothing back up necessarily. So they didn't have the ability to do that. They do now with streaming. Satellite service, unfortunately now, because internet is everywhere on the highway, you don't need now I have everyone in the Midwest. There are times where satellite radio actually would be nice because I can't get service.
I thought that's what it was. I mean, the only time I've ever had any interaction with Sirius has been in people's cars.
Okay.
Or rental cars I've had. I've never.
Even some of that is false. They have satellite receivers on that car to set it up, but the inside on the radio,
the app. The app is really good. There's a lot of streaming stuff in the app. It's set up just like Lenny Melnick is.
Okay, but stop, Doug. What I'm telling you, even in cars where you might think it's coming over the satellite, it's coming through the entertainment stuff, and it's coming through the car's internet service. So it's still
that's not true. It's coming through a satellite. You're absolutely wrong.
Dan, I am not wrong. I know for a fact.
Yes, you are, because I've installed them in a couple cars.
In the last 5 years?
Yes.
Okay.
So when you go to the store and you buy a receiver that is satellite ready, you have to buy a separate antenna that they install in your car.
Dan, that's because you installed a satellite radio. Hertz Rent-A-Car installs an entertainment system that they get from GM, Ford, or whoever. That system is pre-installed to either connect to the satellite or connect to the internet because that car has G3 network. If the G3 is accessible, it kicks to the streaming service. If not, it kicks to the satellite service. I fucking know that for a fact. So, yes, if you go buy a Sirius radio and put the little fucking magnetic antenna on top of the hood, you're only going to get satellite radio because that's what you put in there. If you're putting in a full entertainment system that has G3 and internet access, it's both. So I know that for a fact. It's streaming and satellite. And the streaming now is as big of a part of their service as the satellite is.
I mean, I just looked it up, but like they only have 34 million total subscribers, and then that's going to be divided up by those 600 or 700 stations that they have. You know, nothing on that has got really big audience. I mean, imagine
that's correct.
Like, you know, I mean, you're talking like more people watched Game of Thrones this weekend. Well, this first week.
The difference is
then you have to divide that pie up.
The difference
it's a really minor thing.
12 years ago, that wasn't the case. 10 years ago, when there was no streaming radio available, people were subscribed to Sirius Satellite and XM because
this is how many subscribers they have according to their 2018 what do you call it? It's their investors report for the people who own the stock. 34.04 million. Now we don't have 19 in if they've increased since then, but you know, it's a real small fringy player, and
right.
If a station on that, you know, can figure out a way to add 150 listeners, it probably makes a difference. Unless you're Howard Stern or Joe Rogan.
Dan, can I ask you a question?
Go ahead.
What do you listen to any of the popular fantasy baseball podcasts?
Yeah, I listen to a bunch of baseball podcasts.
CBS.
Sure.
ESPN, which one do you listen to?
I listen to all those ones. I've listened to the Great Fantasy Baseball Imitation. I listen to a bunch of random ones that I've just followed from Twitter from different guys that I'm in those leagues with. I listen to a bunch of stuff, man. So it's not that I'm just in, but I get in different moods sometimes. Or when I'm in the car, it's just more convenient to turn it on and try and find something on my phone, connect to the Bluetooth, stream it, yada yada yada. It's just easy to pop a button, then just go pick up the kids from school, yada yada yada.
Okay, but what I'm saying is ESPN's, I can only tell you the football, which will make you mad because I don't know baseball. Fantasy.
Buster Olney. Oh, no, sorry. They do. Buster Olney does one, and then Tristan Krakoff and Eric Carabao do another one together.
Well, no, what I'm going to say, though, is Sirius XM, their main fantasy football podcast, with Barry and that, they get more viewers by far, and they have been for years, than Sirius XM gets, even for their football stuff.
That's because Matthew Berry is very pop culture because of his background in screenwriting and stuff.
But even CBS gets just as many. No, my point is streaming services and podcasts are what's making Sirius XM Fantasy Channel change. No, and that's my problem. I think they even realize gambling, the issue with gambling and some of the stuff and the prop bets and stuff, it's such a quick audience thing, meaning here's what's going on tonight, here's what we can bet on, good luck guys, and tomorrow we hope you come back. Where even fantasy football, which is what I know, fantasy football, at least that podcast is good for a week and then it's useless. Baseball, maybe a day or two, then it's useless. Sirius XM, they're on every day, so they had to find something that changes every day. And prop bet and gambling changes every day. And people that are into that want up to the minute information. Us fantasy people, we want good information pretty quickly, almost up to the minute, but not the same as a good addicted gambler wants. I mean, if you're a big gambler, Dan, you need to log in at 5 till 7 to Sirius or somewhere and go, all right, the NBA's getting ready to start. Who's in there? So, I just know a little bit about business, and Dan, I think you do too. I mean, you sometimes have to make decisions that may not be best for a part of your customer or your audience, but it is for the majority and or for your own business to survive.
I think they're thinking that it's a smart business move. It's not proven yet. Just because that we legalize gambling in all these states doesn't mean that all of a sudden everyone's going to go out and run out and start gambling. Does it mean that to me? I mean, do you really think that's what's going to happen?
Doug, I got a question now for Doug. Doug, did Dan just flip the argument for Vlad Jr.? He said Vlad Jr. was already going to do everything, that we couldn't go by anything we think's going to happen. But now that we're flipping to Sirius XM's Fantasy Channel, now it's the other way where, well, you guys, they think it's going to be popular.
But the point being is we didn't completely get rid of another franchise to do this.
They didn't. They didn't. They knew you had other options, and that was the problem. People were leaving Sirius XM. They didn't want to spend the money anymore. They could get podcasts for free. I think
and the truth is, like, if I'm streaming, I mean, like, I've never even thought to even look at purchasing Sirius, and I own their stock. I mean, I have like 1,200 shares in my retirement account. I have for years. You know, it's like I got Spotify, I got Stitcher, I got what's the other one? Pandora, which technically is them, I guess. So yeah, they bought Pandora.
Yes, they own them now.
But, you know, so maybe they're going to shove that stuff into my programs that I use. But it's a matter of, it's like the idea, they were a satellite radio station, and satellite radio was something that we as a media consuming culture have just taken a step past. We don't do that anymore.
Right. And Andrea, I don't want to say we're ignoring Andrea. Unfortunately, I think the three of us we had a fun little topic there for a minute. And
I was looking.
Andrea, I don't know what Andrea knows more or less than us being an employee.
I was looking at. I just want to say this.
Gambling sites have money to spend now. That's new money.
That's the thing. You'll get advertising.
Right. And a lot of people think that money's going to get bigger. Ohio, the rumor is already within a year, we're going to have the same gambling that they have in New Jersey and blah, blah. So it's going to grow very quickly. And I think people like Sirius are hoping to be the place that people go first, meaning, okay, Dan's right. They haven't proven it yet. But at the same time, they see a new audience coming because this gambling is going to go across the country in a hurry. And people are going to want to have, and again, I know we can say it, as a fantasy guy, I know all three of us, we want good information all the way up to, baseball, first pitch. But gamblers, I think that's even more of a thing with them because that money, that decision, can be all, one prop bet. You just need to know right now, not tomorrow, not in a half hour. But
I just want to bring this up about Vlad Guerrero signed in 2015 with the Blue Jays for $3.9 million. And that same year,
I knew that
Fox signed for $6 million. Yusniel Diaz signed for $15 million, and Yadier Alvarez signed for $16 million.
Yeah, those were Cubans though. Those weren't international players.
Those are international players.
I understand, but they didn't come up the same way like Vlad Guerrero did. It was a little bit different for their signing process with their signing bonuses and shit.
Well, I'm just saying
because when you sign actual international prospects, they have to sign them within a certain restriction of money, I believe.
I mean, I guess they're not in that grouping, but I'm saying like in that year. But even in this pipeline thing, they had him as the seventh largest highest prospect. They weren't huge on him. Knock out the 4 Cubans, he was still behind Gutierrez.
Now don't be knocking the Cubans.
Well, you say the Cubans have a different system, so even though they're international prospects, they don't count toward international money, which is what he's parsing that thing. Which I agree, there's something.
They're international free agents. It's a different system. They're kind of handled like the Japanese players are.
Well, I mean, to me, everybody that's from an international thing coming to play is an international free agent. But yeah, we have a different rule for.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
People in there, but he was still behind. He was still behind Eddie Martinez, Eddie Martinez got roughly the same money, 3.6, and a couple guys floated over to 2016. But yeah, there were guys that were higher than him, and he wasn't the highest touted prospect out there.
Well, I'm rooting for him.
I'm rooting for him too. As much as we say, we want the guy to have the career that we all want him to have. And honestly, what I'm saying about couching expectations is it's like that's me going. If he could have a great career, he could have a Adrian Beltre like career.
Well, even in fantasy realm, and maybe this is where I'm wrong. But Dan, let's say he hits 38 home runs this year, maybe 40.
I don't expect that, but okay.
Okay, I'm just saying. And let's say he hits, I don't know, RBIs. I don't even know. I'm not even a good enough person to know what, a high-end RBI is. Let's just say he has the rookie year you expect, or even a more. Would you draft him in the first round next year?
I would be tempted to.
See, I would tell you, and I don't even know the numbers, But I think the numbers you have in your head, if it's even more than that, I'm not drafting him in the first round next year. I don't draft those kind of players. I wasn't willing to draft,
You wouldn't draft a high average, high homer, high RBI guy.
Not his second year. Not his
Why?
second year, I wouldn't. Because I've seen too many guys struggle in their second year that had great first years. That's my point.
Junior's not struggling right now. Soto's not really struggling right now. Chris Bryant won an MVP in like his third year. I mean, we've seen a lot of young players produce
again,
and there's so much footage out there with Stat Track, and there's so much information in these organizations have. These guys are almost slump proof in a way. There's so much information and video to change what they're doing wrong, and scouting reports and what the league knows about them and stuff like that. These guys are able to make adjustments at a level that we've never seen before. That's why we're seeing so many young players successful at such a young age.
The pitchers are able to do more adjustments. My point is, I still wasn't willing. I wouldn't have taken Judge this year in the first round.
Oh, I would have. I'm all in on Judge. That guy's an animal.
A lot of people kidding me? I need one more year. If he has another great year this year, which he's hurt, and but all that. I mean, next year I'd be more into him. I'm just not a fan of my first. I don't gamble. I don't try to gamble my first round. I want a proven guy. And when I
try not to gamble my first round either. But at a certain point, you have to believe when someone's doing something that it's real.
You can say that. I think if Vlad Jr. does what you think he's going to do this year, there are a lot of people that will take him in the first round. I would consider that gambling.
I wouldn't.
I know that. That's why
I absolutely wouldn't. Just because he's a young player, and we're seeing young players succeed like we've never seen them succeed before. It's not like it's not like it was even 10 years ago. I could argue.
A proven player.
Is Andy still out there?
We're in the StatCast era. You need to remember that everything is tracked. Everything is tracked. We just saw Vladdy take a 4-pitch walk. Nice, right up on there.
We're after midnight. I always break in with like some big news, and I want to make sure that Andy's not out there.
No, Andrea's out there.
I'm watching the game right now. We got Toronto and Los Angeles Angels are 3-3 at the top of the sixth. I'm watching it.
I'm a hockey guy now. I don't have time for this baseball stuff.
I've literally been sitting there watching TV the whole time I've been working. I have a TV right here.
You're a good guy. I know. Yeah. Believe you. I have TVs in my. You want me to start showing you my work? I got TVs.
I understand. I have TVs at the grow. Yeah, I got it. It's a necessary thing.
I'm there. So
I misread it. No big deal.
That's all right.
What did you misread?
The tweet came across that Luis Robert got promoted. So I went in real quick and I picked him up.
Yeah, everywhere. But that was talked about last night that he was getting promoted to what? AAA?
Yeah, it's internal.
Is he going to AA?
Going to AA.
He was in high A. That's correct. Yeah, so he's going to AA. I read that last night.
Yep.
All right.
Yeah. Well, no, you see something. I'm in this one league where everybody is so far ahead. It's all writers, guys that are full time. And like I can't ever get anybody, so
I got to tell you, the word is Nick Senzel is going to be up this weekend. For those of you that are in any leagues that you want to grab him, he's definitely worth a snag. He's only probably about 40 or 50% owned, but the word on the street is he's going to be in Cincinnati this weekend.
Supposed to be Friday too. That's like that'll be your Friday game will have Nick Senzel.
He could come up and start batting 255 and be our second best hitter. We suck. The Reds.
You
got Jesse Winker, and
I got to tell you, there were so many people on this network, and I'm not going to name any names, but they know who they are, that were so high on Yasiel Puig this year, and I just was not one of those guys. I never have been, and I couldn't give him any credit, and he's done exactly what I thought he was going to do, which is fizzle out.
I sort of thought he might do better in Cincinnati, but like they jumped him up into like the top 100 picks.
Yeah, he was. He's a free agent in a 12-team league that I'm in. I couldn't believe it. I'm like, are you kidding me with this?
Who we talking about?
Yasiel Puig.
I'm getting my kids talking to me. My dog got left out. I had to.
Is he okay?
Yeah, we left out in the backyard. Luckily it's warm in Ohio right now, but
that's what. Yeah. Sorry about the scare on Luis Robert. I messed up, but I picked him up in the league. I'll probably drop him tomorrow.
I'll tell you what, Douglas. I think best case scenario with Robert, if we see him produce well at AA, there's a chance he may come up in September. But I cannot see him being like a midseason call up. I really don't. The White Sox have no reason to start his clock. Absolutely none.
I would agree with that.
the thing
We're
about it
not
is
going
that
to win anything this year.
is that these guys know that the owners are not going to pay players what they used to pay players. They're getting together, and it wouldn't shock me if they laid they laid out a $5 million a year deal for him or something.
No, there's no need for that. He's not on the level. He's not on the level of Eloy Jimenez. I don't believe prospect.
$5 million is not a whole lot of money though.
Now, and Cam makes a quick point. Now,
I actually think he is. I mean, the question is with everybody with Jimenez being promoted and Guerrero being promoted, there's a short list of who the new number one guy is in the minors, and there is an argument that it is Luis Robert. I don't personally think it's that, but it's like you can make an argument for Whitley, you can make an argument for Wander Franco. You can then the next two guys are probably Robert and Kirilloff. You know, the guys in the minors. You know.
Okay.
With promotions that are happening.
Can you guys pause for 1 second?
No.
Okay. First of all, Cam in the chat room, as popular as fantasy baseball and sports in general are, sports gambling is by far more popular with far more money spent. I kind of agree with that, but that's not my point. I'm going to switch to something else. Not topic wise. I'm going to switch to another computer. I want to see if I can make another computer work at the same time this one's working.
If it's far more popular, then go hire the proper staff and go start a proper network for it. Why should you have to take over another genre that was already there? It's not like when pop music became popular, we took over the rock station and said, okay, cool, no more rock music, but we're going to play pop on this station now.
Happens all the time.
I don't think that there are that many people that gamble. I mean, like if you count like the people like my brother who'll go to the Super Bowl and he'll bet at dinner with somebody on the Super Bowl game. That's his one bet a year as a gambler. It's true. It might have more money because the people that do it tend to push around more money. But it's like my dad is a bookie, and I know the gambling population, and it's like 8%, 9% of the world. It's not everybody. There are more football fans than people that gamble on football by a long way, and there's more baseball fans than people that gamble on baseball, and there's more basketball fans than people that gamble on basketball.
But what's the number for fantasy? Is there any like hard numbers out there for how many people are playing fantasy sports?
The FSTA did a study, like I think it was 2012, so that's like how outdated it is.
Sure.
They said it was something like, I actually think it was 6 million people play fantasy sports.
But it's got to be more than that, dude, because I swear to God, I know so many women that play fantasy football now. Like it's a common, all right, if you work in an office or if you work in a restaurant, every restaurant, every office has a fantasy football league in their work. Is Easy even there? I guarantee there's a work league at his work. Guarantee it. In every bar I've ever worked in, there's been a fantasy league between either the customers or the staff or something. There's always one, and it's so commonplace right now to play fantasy football. It's got to be more. And how many times are there commercials about, oh, well, you need to control your fantasy sports because it's becoming a problem for your family? No, but they do that with gambling all the fucking time. I'm sorry. It's a problem in my eyes.
Wait a minute. Can you guys hear me or not?
No, your video is very choppy.
I know. Your video is in and out, in and out, in and out. Right now, all they're seeing is my ugly mug.
Okay, but that's fine. But I'm on a totally different machine now. And I did
stop my cam. We can all just be. We could be like voices.
So I got to tell you, I was so pissed at you last week, Easy. So I spent like, I don't know, a good 2 hours making this picture of me, because you know how when we were in the Google Hangouts, when I would push my video off, it would have my picture, my face. But I made one that had like my show title and what time it was on and my Twitter handle and all this stuff. And I was so excited to unveil it. And you're like, how about I switch networks? I'm like, you mother. Oh, I was so mad at you, Easy. You can't even hear me. He didn't hear a word I said, Douglas, did he?
No, he's doing something else. I think.
SOB.
We're live.
I've been doing transplants. I have been working my butt off the whole time I've been on this stupid show.
In most of my free time today, I was just watching horse racing highlights today. I feel like I'm a little behind on baseball.
Where do you get horse racing highlights? Is that on the internet?
No, that's what I was telling you. Like if you go to like runfortheroses.com or just KentuckyDerby.com and you look at the list of all the guys that are on there, you don't have to watch all the races. Like you click on a horse, you go, I want to see. Like it'll say like this is whatever the course's name is, like Maximum Security.
So what you're saying is they have like the combine for horses on the internet.
If you go to Maximum Security, it'll show his last four. It'll show all his graded stakes. You click on the graded stakes, and it'll take you to YouTube of that race. and the race is only 2.5 minutes long. So you can literally watch almost every important race for every important horse in the Kentucky Derby in about 30 minutes, 40 minutes. And so that's what I did. I spent 30 minutes watching horses. I watched.
So who's the hot horse this year? I mean, who's your favorite coming out of the combine? Who's got the fastest 40 time?
Going into it. I'm a big Baffert fan on the training side. Going into it, I was thinking that
he's the one that wins them all the time, right?
Not all the time, but he's
won a whole bunch, right? He's considered like the Bill Belichick of horse racing, if I'm correct, right?
He's a strong trader, but his horses he's got 3 horses in this time, and they are like tied for second and third as far as the opening line. But the favorite is Omaha Beach, so that's the thing. But I always like to look at like the guys that might pay a little bit better, because I'm not going to go and like when I go to a horse track. You got 9 races to bet. I'm not going to bet $30 on each one and make it a $250 a day, especially because you lose. I do a lot of $2 and $5 and $10 bets, and so that I always look for things that have good payouts. And there are guys out there that I think. I mean, like in the scoring this year for qualifying and I'm here by myself.
No, I got you.
In the scoring for qualifying, the highest scoring horse was Tacitus. And he's going off at 10-1. I think that's a pretty good thing. I would be War of Will looked like a world beater of a horse until his last race where he came in 7th, but he had kind of a screwed up first turn, and like he's at 20-1. That's a long shot you look at. He did get the pole draw, which is a terrible place to run from.
Can I ask a really stupid like newbie question about the Kentucky Derby?
What?
Like, so, all right, so the Kentucky Derby is a big deal. Like, I know there's like one of the big 3 they consider part of the Triple Crown. But like, is there like qualifiers where like you work up to being a certain, you won certain events to get into this running, or like, are all the horses on like a level playing field? Or I guess that's my main question.
About 15, 20 years ago, it used to be by invitation, and people got pissed at that. So they put in a system. And basically every race that is important there's a lot of races that are unimportant, but they'll be graded like grade 3, grade 2, or grade 1. Grade 1 is the top grade. Kentucky Derby is in grade 1 and the lead of the grade 1. And based on your performance in those things, you get a certain point. Are you familiar with the way they do points like in NASCAR? Like coming in second will do this amount, coming in third will do this amount. And based on those points, the top 19 point getters are the ones that get the invitation to come to this thing. Theoretically, there are alternates. Like there's a minimum that somebody has to get in order to get in there. It's like this year there were 20 qualifiers for 19 spots. So if someone were to scratch the last minute, somebody might pop in. But there is a pattern for it. It's like you have to win or place or show.
Horses are there in most cases.
Yeah, you have to win or place and show at least a couple of a grade 2 or grade 1 stakes.
Usually,
I guess that answered my question mostly. Basically, if I'm gambling on that Kentucky Derby, I can know, okay, the guy with a 10-1 long shot, like you stated earlier, could actually have a chance at winning this race. Are we correct?
I mean, the truth is the Kentucky Derby, because of this, because you would say that like probably only like there are a couple pairs in there like this. Like I know that Tax and Game Winner have gone up against each other. It's like the typical horse in here has never run against 14 of these other horses, and these are the cream of the crop of horses throughout the world. Literally, there's 2 horses from Arabia. There's the girl from the whatever from Japan, and who knows what happened. And when you have a 20 horse post, a lot of weird things can happen. Like for instance, if you draw like the 3, you could be sitting in there for like 15-20 minutes before they say go, because they got to get all the guys in there, and maybe somebody bucks or something, and maybe sitting there too long. And when they let it go, you have 20 horses that they're all trying to converge into the same spot, and so you wind up seeing a lot more long shots hit in things like the Kentucky Derby than you do if you were to go to like your racetrack at Tampa Downs, because most of the time it's 2, 3, most of those races have 7 horses, maybe 8, and it's a cleaner thing. There's a lot of good payoffs on the thing. One of the reasons why I like to look at it is just for that reason. It's like I bet the first time I ever won with a Baffert horse, I bet $10 on Real Quiet, and it paid off at 12-1. It's kind of a nice windfall of $120. And those things actually do happen in this race. The favorite rarely wins. There's a lot that can go on. You can get like a 50-1, maybe not win, but I've seen, like, was it 2 years ago? The second longest odd horse came in third, which made the trifecta,
Which worth like a lot of money
in the hundreds of thousands of dollars on a $2 bet. It was like, yeah,
I think one person hit it actually.
Yeah, the way that those things go is that there's a pot and it's divided by people who get it. So the rarer your thing is, the better the payoff's going to be.
Right.
And that's the reason why, like in my pool, rather than let's go with the pot at Churchill Downs, it's like if you're betting the show, we're gonna take the half the odds of the win. If you're betting a third the odds of the win. If you're betting the place, half the odds of the win, because that can really fluctuate depending on.
Well, the other problem is though, and then the problem is with the Triple Crown is the Preakness and the Belmont have different ways for horses to get in there. And some horses will hold out of the one if they don't win the Kentucky Derby. If you win the Kentucky Derby, you almost always run all three. But if you lose the Kentucky Derby, a lot of them will sit out the next race and then run the third race.
Yeah, you'll go from this, and the Preakness will have nine horses,
which makes it even harder to win the Kentucky Derby. Now they've kind of changed that rule. They used to let some rare horses in that would only run the last race. And they kind of took that away. That's really when the Kentucky Derby, when the Triple Crown was almost impossible to win, was because is it Kentucky Derby, Preakness, Belmont? Is that the order?
Yeah,
I believe so.
They were letting horses in the Belmont that didn't race in the other two because of the length of the race. It was perfect for them.
The Belmont's a mile and a half, and literally, I don't know any other race that's a mile and a half except for that.
Well,
which is the one in Maryland? Because I had some friends that went to that one.
That's the Preakness.
Yeah, okay. I knew because I used to live in Northern Virginia, right outside DC, but I knew people used to go to that all the time. They'd dress up with the fancy hats and drink the mimosas or whatever, the mint juleps or whatever the hell they have to drink there.
That's the Kentucky Derby too. But the thing is, though, the rules changed a little bit, and that's why we've actually had a couple more Triple Crown winners in the last 5 years than we had the last 50 years.
Yeah, we had the two in the 70s, and then it never happens. Then we got two.
Because the rules changed. You can't put that odd, sneaky horse in now on that last race that made it almost impossible for the Derby winner to win. Because the Derby winner was running. But the other problem people don't realize is if you run all three races, you don't get any rest. You're where they would take in these other horses that would only run the one race and make it almost impossible for this horse that's been running his ass off for the three races. But I think it goes off at like 6:25. I think this Saturday. It's a pretty big deal, and
it's like 6:48. They'll do the song.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really like 6:50. It's
you gotta love the trumpets.
Well, no, they do. They do my old Kentucky home.
Yeah,
that's the difference. But it's a matter of like the hype on the show is crazy. Like they'll literally, like as a horse racing fan, like horse racing will get absolutely no talk.
Well, it's an all-day event. It's an all-day event.
Yeah, but ABC will run. They'll run 6 hours of free Kentucky Derby. I mean, that's crazy.
Because it is one of the biggest events in the world. I mean, I don't care what we want to say. I mean, in the sports world, this is one of the top events. I mean, you can't argue it. I mean, I know people say you can but I think if you're talking worldwide viewership and the amount of gambling on it
it's definitely an event. I consider it on the low. It's not quite on the level of the Super Bowl and the World Series and stuff, but bigger. I feel like it's just below. No way, really?
It is big.
170,000 people will go to the
worldwide. Dan, it's bigger.
Yeah, that's interesting. In terms of Americans and Americans caring about it, especially Americans my age or younger, I don't feel like it's the biggest deal of all time.
More people will go to the Kentucky Derby than will go to the Super Bowl. More people will go to the Indianapolis 500 than will go to the Super Bowl by a factor. There'll be 200,000 people there for the week.
Well, that's just because of the sheer size of the venue. I've been to Indy 500. It was huge.
It is huge, right? I think on the day of the Indianapolis 500, now it's changed. Now they don't do the big infield thing, but back in the 70s,
really,
back in the 70s and the 80s, the number of people within that track made it like the 5th largest city in the country or something.
Yeah, dude. I went in 96 and we camped out in the North 40. And I remember it being like this all day, like party for like 3 days. It was nuts. I was 17 years old or 16 years old. It was crazy. I mean, I just remember like, girls taking off their shirts and drunken events and just nuts. It was an event, dude. It was crazy.
There's still areas in the infield that do that. But now the infield the infield used to be 100% infield, except for, around the track itself.
I usually go to the 24 Hours of Daytona, and the infield's a big old party in the middle of the night. The
infield now in Indy, half of it is now a golf course, and the other half is a
really
actual racetrack. Right. It's now, there's actually the Grand Prix track goes through the field, and they don't let you on that. And inside of the Indianapolis 500 or inside of the Indianapolis Speedway now is a golf course. So
I did not know that.
They do not let you camp on there and all that anymore. So it's a big place. All right, we went a half hour over, Doug, because you suck at getting me off of here.
I announced when it was 12 o'clock. When it was 12 o'clock.
Darn it, I missed it.
It's all my fault, man. It's because I'm on the West Coast and it's only like 9:30 my time.
And I left my dog out. My dog's now looking at me like, you asshole. You left me outside for 2 hours while you did a radio show. So, well,
holy shit.
I want to thank the Rosses for coming out. I hope everything's okay. I know their daughter got up not feeling well, and I know that's when they left. So
when she friended me on Facebook, I realized her name is Elizabeth. So that means
hey,
her name is actually Betsy Ross.
Isn't every girl named Beth her name Elizabeth?
Well, I mean, she's Betsy Ross.
Oh, you're okay. I would. All right. Thank you.
Can I break some news to you guys?
Breaking news. Sure. Do it, Dan.
Theo Epstein just shared that Addison Russell has been told he'll be optioned on Thursday to Iowa. That's crazy.
That was actually my topic for Saturday is going to be around Addison Russell.
Yeah, that's huge. So they're basically not going to allow him to be on the team, or what?
No, I believe they're going to allow him to be on the team. They just don't have a space for him just quite yet. I mean, the truth is, he's already playing in Iowa.
Now, Cam in the chat room says more people go and watch the Masters than watch the World. I don't know. I'm assuming he's.
Yeah, I've worked the Masters. I don't know if that's true, but I've seen the Kentucky Derby up close and like.
Well, the problem is when you're talking World Series or Super Bowl, you're limited to how many people can go in the stadium, and that's usually 70,000 in that area.
Shit, the Giant Stadium maxes out at 43 standing room only.
Wow,
you got like but I compare it to like Neyland Stadium where the U.S. Tennessee plays. They'll have 104,000 or
Michigan's like 116,000 now.
Like that. Yeah. But like those crowds are smaller than the Kentucky Derby crowd.
Right. All right. Well, I had other topics when I even I promised Cam we would get into
how come Cam doesn't come on the show?
I don't know. He says he's in bed. But
we didn't talk about Cobra Kai.
Cam, we didn't get to it.
We didn't even get to talk Game of Thrones. When you touched on it for a second, I was so excited. It was such a great series. I don't know if you guys all watched it.
I never watched Game of Thrones.
Douglas.
I watched the first year, and it was bloody awful, and I couldn't get through it. I was like, this show's not going to survive.
Right. Okay.
So I have this one real quick question. It's like, and then they have this big like Marvel superheroes movie, and I really never watched any of those that I saw.
Oh my God, Douglas.
You're
killing me, Smalls. This was like one of the greatest weeks of my life, dude. Between that Marvel movie and the Game of Thrones.
If I had to choose one, should I watch 22 Marvel Cinematic University movies? The truth is, I've seen 2 of them. Guardians of the Galaxy. Or should I watch 9 years of Game of Thrones?
Douglas, that's a really tough call. I got to tell you, I've got both options for you. I got all the DVDs. I've seen every movie in chronological order.
I'm of the age where people put out superhero movies, and we were really excited to see them. And one in all of them, they just stunk. They were just terrible. Superman.
I love these movies, man. These ones have been so good.
You're younger. You didn't get that. You didn't watch like the Punisher and the only superhero movie like that was out before I was say 30 that I liked was Spawn. The only one, and that was kind of a different sort of thing. I guess the first Batman was out, and with
I'm not that much younger than you, Doug. I'm 10 years younger than you.
But those like
I know all those movies. I understood
when Iron Man came out. I'm like, just another freaking
that movie was awesome.
And so like it's like I just didn't. I just at that point I had given up on it. It's like they have like
I think a lot of people did. A lot of people never gave it a proper chance. I was one of those people. I didn't get into it probably until I think the second Avengers movie came out. And at that point, I was like, really started to go back and watch them, and they all made sense. It was really good.
And the first Avenger movie was like the parts I've seen of what I've like in between hasn't been very good. The first Avenger movie wasn't a very good movie. I saw like the first half hour, 45 minutes of the first.
Well, you either like comic book movies or you don't.
No, it's I want to like it.
Okay, wait, we're getting ready to end, and we're getting ready to go off on a 30-minute tangent. No, you can.
Game of Thrones or MCU? What should I waste my time with?
Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. Yeah, I would say it as well. That I'm telling you, it gets so crazy by the time season 3 comes around.
So awful. They must really.
It doesn't matter. Look, the first year was very slow because it's a lot of characters. Because there's so much you have to know about the characters. And I would recommend watching it again and really slowly taking notes and going, okay, this is so-and-so. This is so-and-so. They're at house so-and-so. Because eventually it's going to make a huge, huge deal for you. And the more you understand about the show, the easier it is to watch.
All right. Okay. Now, no spoiler alert. Sorry, Doug.
They'll die.
Dan and Cam. I mean, the big thing this revealed this last time was the.
Well, I'm going away now because I don't.
No, this isn't. I'm not giving anything away.
No, I really want to leave anyway.
We're about done. Sons of Anarchy and Breaking Bad were also very good.
Yeah, Breaking Bad was really good too.
All right, I'm just saying. Are green eyes the next thing we need to watch out for? That's all I want to say. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, I believe so. I believe I'm telling you that I read a lot of negative things about that last episode on the internet, and it bothered the crap out of me. I thought it was a great, great, great episode.
All right, Dan left. He didn't trust me, but I want to thank everybody for coming out. And I did want to thank Doug. Doug's great.
I'm here.
I know, but I'm done with you too. I'm done with everybody. I was supposed to be off 20 minutes ago.
I'm the worst. I'm sorry.
You are, because you come on late. It's you people who come on late and make us repeat ourselves. That's the problem. You come on and then you know, Andrea could come on right now and we do another 3 hours.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, it would be. But I do agree. I think Breaking Bad, if you haven't seen Breaking Bad, I think I might put Breaking Bad maybe, and because I think I would put Breaking Bad a tad above Game of Thrones.
No, I can't do it. I love Breaking Bad. Breaking Bad was so great.
Yeah, but it's not fantasy. I'm not saying that it happened, but it could happen. That to me makes it a little more fun to watch. That it's real persons and real personalities. It's not fantasy stuff. But
can I tell you what my biggest problem with Breaking Bad is before we get off?
No, go ahead.
It's just the fact that in the outlaw days of the marijuana world, my life lived too close of a parallel to some of the events that happened in that show, and it gave me a lot of anxiety watching it.
Okay.
And so that was just one of the hard things, like watching certain situations. I'm like, fuck, man, I've lived a situation way too close. I maybe it was just for me personally. It just personally gave me anxiety. And there were some points I'd have to turn the show off. I wouldn't be able to watch it for a couple of days and be like, all right, I'll be cool to turn it back on.
I put it a tad above Game of Thrones because it's real. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I know it didn't really happen, but it's based on, from what I understand, the writer wrote some things that he heard, meaning it's based on some similar drug things.
Sure.
So I think that's why I put it a hair above. I'm not saying, hey, it's back to, how far do you rate players? When we say the greatest versus the next tier down, doesn't mean you're hammering the next tier down. It's just, they're up there. See, I didn't watch Game of Thrones till this year. And
Are you kidding me?
No, I was on vacation the week of Christmas through New Year's. So I had 10 days off. I watched all 7 seasons of Game of Thrones, one after the other, after the other, after the other. So
okay. So have you watched them a second or third time? Because once you watch them again is when you really start to pick up on it. You know more about the character's backstory. You pick up on all the subtle details because there's been a lot of subtle details like we saw last night. Just for example, now that Douglas is gone, I want to use the one example where the Red Woman was talking to Arya and she was like, she brought back the line from Sirio in season 1 before Ned got killed, who was her dancing instructor. And what did we say to the God of Death? Not today. And anyone that really, really knew the show knew that was a callback to that moment.
Yeah, but I don't watch anything twice.
Really?
Yeah, I saw it. I know how it ends. I don't need to watch it twice. I don't watch baseball games twice. Twice. Cam probably did. Cam, I've already talked to people who've watched this last episode like 3 times.
I'm going to watch it again here probably tomorrow. I listened to like a 2-hour podcast right after the episode ended, which was fun.
Did you listen to Cam's? I was in the chat room with Cam right after the show. Cam and his son, I think it's his son. They do
because I didn't watch it because I'm on the West Coast and I didn't get out of work until late. So I don't think I watched the show until probably 10 o'clock my time.
Right. Okay.
So I turn the internet off. I can't have any spoilers, man. I'm so bad. I won't get on Twitter. I won't do anything. I just block myself out until I watch it.
You don't want any spoilers, but you'll watch an episode 3 times. That's my point. Why would it's already been spoiled. I don't need to watch it again.
I watch it a second time usually because, like I said, there's so many things that you pick up on. And this show is one of those shows that's so detailed that I like to know every last bit of what's going on. Does that make sense?
That's because you like to, but you don't have to.
I like to. Exactly. This is what we talked about earlier is my personal preference. But I also don't watch the Masters because I don't like that.
I don't have to, so I don't watch it twice. Dan, thank you for coming on tonight.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you for having me.
You have a show Thursday night still or just Mondays?
No, I don't know. I mean, just kind of when me and Doug want to get together on Thursdays and do something. But I've been trying to just do Mondays at this point.
Right. All right.
Just when I come out, I usually try to come on here as much as possible. So three shows a week, it gets to be a lot.
Well, I appreciate you coming on because we do have fun. We do a lot of, again, I know the mix right now in the roundtable is the same 4 or 5 of us.
What happened to Lou? I haven't seen him in a while.
Oh, his girlfriend's schedule changed, I think. So he's normally with her.
Gotcha.
I don't know. I mean, and everyone wants me to change the time. It's just hard for me to change the time.
I like the time. It's perfect for me.
Works for you. Works for me. Andrea comes on here and there. She has to talk to her mom, though, at like 10 o'clock every night. So she's always late. She feels bad. But again, the good thing is at least we have if it's the same 4 or 5 people that are on here, I think what I like about it is our opinions are all different. So regardless of what the topic is, we seem to have, it's not like it's the same 4 people who, oh yeah, you're right. We're not agreeing all the time.
Sure. And we didn't even get to talk about my favorite topic tonight. That's your boy getting drafted by my Washington Redskins. How exciting is that? I'm so juiced about that. Like Redskins Nation is already embracing this kid. Like there's talk of him being a starter in Washington this year.
He's already, I've talked to him, reached out. He's got to figure out his schedule. He's more or less promised me he will be on sometime here in the next 2 or 3 weeks to do another show so we can talk about the process and what he went through. And, obviously all the way up to being drafted in the 4th round.
Tell him a huge Redskins fan over here that's going to be giving him support all season. I may even buy his jersey.
Pick 131. I mean, that's pretty good. I mean, so...
and it's cool the fact that the Redskins the day before traded their pick because they didn't have a 4th round pick. They traded that pick and got 2 4th round picks that allowed them to take the running back and then take your boy right after him.
Yeah. So people who don't know, I know you keep saying, but it's Wes Martin, who I coached in baseball when he was 9 and 10 years old.
How crazy is that? Was he always that big and meaty like that? Because I didn't realize how big he was, man. He's huge.
There's a lot of people think he might have been the strongest, if not one of the second or third strongest guy in the whole draft. I mean,
he's built like a freaking tree trunk.
Yeah, that's right. Tom Brady went in round 6. Wes went round 4. So Wes is definitely going to be in the Hall of Fame.
No, but I think he's got a legit chance to start in Washington.
Yeah, they say, and the good thing is coaching. I mean, he's coming out of the Big Ten. He played 4 years. They say his strength is there. Obviously, they're saying his, and again, I'm not saying, it's back to the thing. When you say the word negative, then people think, no, they just say he needs to work on his downfield stuff. They're convinced he's got the ability to play on the line and not get pushed around. He's just got to get his footwork and his downfield skills down, and then he could be a starter. I mean, it's
he's going to be a starter this year. Word on the street, man. I'm telling you, I've already been reading the inside information on the Redskins blogs, and our offensive line coach is one of the best offensive line coaches. His name is escaping me right this second.
You don't. I mean, the good thing is, pretty much through the 4th round, you're drafting people who you plan on putting on your team. You're not drafting in the 4th round to just try out. I mean, so the point is he's gonna probably be an NFL player for the Redskins. Unless a trade.
I think he'll stick. I think he'll make the 52-man roster this year. And I think by midseason you're probably going to see him starting because we just don't have that solid second guard. It's been a rotating door for the last several years of Sean LaVeo, and there's just several other replacement players because every year for the last like 3 years, everyone in our offensive line has gotten injured.
Right.
It's been ridiculous.
And that's the good thing. He was healthy all 4 years he played. You know, I don't think, if I'm not mistaken, I don't think he missed a game in his college career. So health hasn't been an issue. I know I watched him for 4 years in high school. He was healthy all through high school, you know, so you know, his family's good. I mean, again, the whole thing, he's, you know, I know
it's pretty neat though, man, to like have coached a kid who's now made it this far. I mean, how many pro level players can you say you knew or even had a hand in doing anything with their life? You know, that's kind of cool.
Right. But I coached him in baseball and he went to do football. So obviously I screwed something up.
That's funny stuff. Was he a power hitter in baseball? Like I asked you earlier, was he always big like that?
Yeah. Wesley hit more than a few home runs for my team. So yeah, he was a very big 9-year-old. So
that's crazy. Now is he from Ohio? Does he live in the town that you live in, or is that how you knew him?
He's been at my house. I mean, him and my son graduated. I mean, Wesley's been at my house. He, you know, I mean, his oldest brother plays on my softball team. I mean, I know I mean,
that's really cool.
Yeah, I've known Wesley since he was in first grade. That's when my kids started going to school here, and they've been friends pretty much the whole time and played ball together. And
well, hopefully he'll get like a sign in your town and stuff, you know, and you can come drive through town, home of Wesley Martin, you know.
He is gonna have. See, we have a gold medalist from our town. See, so our sign already has. I mean, you probably haven't heard of Bob Schul, but Bob Schul is a 5,000 meter gold medalist back in the 68 Olympics, I think, if I got the year right, 68, 69, whatever year the Olympics was then, the one in Germany. So the guy from West Melt, which I've met multiple times, I have Bob Schul. There's a big track meet here in his name, and my kids all ran track. So, but unfortunately, all the signs in our town are you're entering the town, you know, blah, blah, the home, you know, the birthplace of Bob Schul, the 19-something Olympic gold medalist. So, Wesley's going to have to do something to beat out a gold medalist.
So does that mean the Redskins now get to become your proxy rooting team, and I can come on and we can talk about Redskins during the season, or what?
I will watch more Redskins games than normal now, yes, because I never watched Indiana games, but because of Wesley, I watch pretty much every Indiana game. Now, when the Buckeyes and Indiana played at the same time, the Buckeyes would be on the small screen or the big screen, and Indiana would be on the middle screen, but so answer me this. You're a Buckeyes guy, right? Yeah.
What do you think about Dwayne Haskins? Is he going to be the real deal in the NFL? Because from what I'm seeing on tape and the assessments a lot of guys are making, they say that his system is going to translate to the NFL.
Yeah. I mean, I'm hoping, but back to being a very long time Buckeyes fan, we haven't been known for great quarterbacks coming out of this school. So I would love for him to do great. And I'm glad, hey, I even tweeted out that, you know, hey, Wesley's going to be blocking for another Big Ten guy. You know, congratulations, Big Ten and Washington. Yeah, he's going to get a block for Haskins. He's going to get a block for Adrian Peterson. And didn't you guys also draft a Big Ten running back?
So last year we drafted Darius Geis in the second round, but he tore out his ACL in the first game of the season. He's going to be like the starter. And then we drafted, I cannot think of the kid's name. We drafted him in the fourth round as well. And he was another injured player. But once he comes all the way back, he's going to be like a scat back type, like a third down back, receiving back.
Right. So, yeah. Cam in there says, I think Haskins is going to suck because to me, he looks a little puffy.
That's good. I just thought it was interesting about Haskins was he came out with like the clothing line like the next day after he was drafted, a la like, you know, LeVar Ball style. Like his dad was involved with it and all kinds of stuff.
Now, Cam's saying he got to hit off of Tom Glavine in high school. Now,
really?
That's his. Now, okay. Now, here's the issue I have. I played in a tournament 2 years in a row that Roger Clemens played in. Roger Clemens was born and raised. Okay, he wasn't born, but he went when he was like 12 years old. He was in the town just south of ours. So when we had our big baseball tournament every year, Merlin Heights, where me and Roger Clemens are exactly the same age. And Roger Clemens, here's the problem. I cannot say I played or hit against Roger Clemens. What I can tell you is I was on an all-star team for Tip City the same exact year Roger Clemens was on an all-star team for Merlin Heights, and we played in the same tournament. So, but I was 12. I couldn't.
It's not like he was throwing gas out there.
But it's not even. I can verify that I played against him. Nobody went. Oh, this kid is pitching against right now is going to be a
Hall of Famer. Yeah,
right. So it's not like we documented anything. It just happened years later where a few of us went, you know what? This Roger Clemens guy, he's from Merlin Heights, and we played in the. We don't have old scorebooks to say we definitely played against Roger Clemens. But we do know he played in the same tournament we were playing in. Merlin Heights came up here and played in our tournament every year. So
pretty cool.
There's a chance, that I played against.
You took him deep 3 times in one game. That's how the story should go.
No, I'm not. I'm much prouder that I'm 57 and that last night in softball I hit 2 off the fence. I had 2 doubles last night off the fence, and 1 pop up and a walk. And I pitched. They only scored 3 runs. I had 3 putouts and 2 strikeouts. I didn't think that was bad for a pitcher either. So at 57, I'm much more proud of doing that at 57 than playing against Roger Clemens by accident at age 12.
Well, just know, Easy, that if I lived in your town, I would join your softball team, and we would have a lot of fun because I love softball. It's like my favorite thing to do besides talk about baseball.
You probably wouldn't meet my standards.
Oh, are you kidding me?
Okay.
You don't think I'm good enough? I think I'm pretty good.
Here's the problem. Other than me, the team is full of 25-year-old kids that I coached when they were little. So you're too old to be on the team. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm 40. I know. I'm like going to be the oldest person on my team, guaranteed.
Oh, well, I'm the oldest person by 25 years or more because I coached them all. This is a group of kids that when they got done playing ball in high school and didn't know what to do with themselves, I said, hey, I'll get the money and sponsors and we'll play softball. And we've been playing now for that's what I'm saying. This is Wesley's brother, my son. It's a whole group of kids that I coached when they were, between age 8 and 15, I coached them all in baseball. And now they play for me. So I'm technically manager / player combo, meaning I pitch and bat and coach the team, but the rest of the team is 25-year-old kids. So yeah, it's not that you wouldn't meet the standard skill wise. It's just, this is a specific group of kids.
Ageism. It's ageism, Easy. I don't want to hear it anymore. It's ageism.
Now they all
Lenny would be very upset with you.
They all call me coach. So, I've coached them a long time. Well, again, we've definitely gone way over now, Dan. So thanks for coming out. It looks like the Spreaker experiment worked for me. I was able to use 1 computer, nothing shut down, nothing stopped. My laptop kind of worked. So at least if I have an emergency and need to go mobile, I think I can make my laptop work. But everybody, thanks for coming out. Cam, thanks for hanging in there. Tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, I'll be on. Me and Chris will be talking a lot more about the draft. And I'm sure we'll be talking about Wesley and some Washington Redskins stuff. So maybe you can listen in then, Dan. So, and what's kind of cool is the Bengals play Washington the second game of the preseason. So that will definitely be a game probably Wesley will play in. So there's already a bunch of us talking. Do we want to drive to Washington, D.C., to watch Wesley play, in a preseason game against the Bengals? So it'd be kind of a combination where I get to see the Bengals play and Wesley at the same time.
Well, have you ever been in DC? It's a lot of fun.
I have not. I've been through it. I've never been there for a visit. So
you should go. There's a lot of great restaurants, good culture. It's very hectic and there's a lot of traffic.
Well,
so be prepared.
Is the stadium is the north though, right?
So the stadium's in Maryland. I want to say it's Landover, Maryland. Right. So it's there's an area where Maryland, DC, and Virginia all meet in one area. It's kind of like at the heart of DC.
Right.
But so just there's like a Woodrow Wilson bridge that goes right across the border and it separates Virginia into Maryland. And it's away from DC probably about, I'd say 25 minutes into Maryland. So it's not super far, but it's far enough.
Well, we're already talking about it, that might be a cool game to go see.
Yeah, man.
Because I've been told already the issue is, for an out of stater to get DC to see tickets to see the Redskins sell out still They suck.
No way, bro. Okay, so is someone no tickets are so easy in DC. So easy.
Okay, but are you buying them aftermarket, or can you actually buy tickets?
I'm pretty sure you can actually buy tickets because they don't sell out the stadium anymore. It's gotten so bad. Like, so I used to have season tickets for the Redskins for years. So real quick, during the 80s, the Redskins were a dynasty. They won 3 Super Bowls. There was a 20-year waiting list for season tickets. Okay,
I've watched football, Dan.
Sure. And so the Redskins were great. You couldn't get on the seat. Then they opened the new stadium. You know, we bumped up 30,000 extra seats from 60,000 to 90,000, and then I got season tickets. I had them for 8 years till I moved to the West Coast. But after I gave my tickets up, my seats no longer exist. They had to take them out of the stadium because they could not sell enough tickets to keep TV rights.
Huh. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Well, maybe
that's why a lot of the hardcore Redskins fans are really bitching about what's been going on with Dan Snyder. There's like a huge revolt against him and Bruce Allen. They don't like him.
Went to see if they played the Bengals this year, and they don't. So other than, in the preseason they do, but not in the regular season.
But that'd be the best time to go see him because I guarantee he'll get some play second half of that game. They're gonna want to get a look at him, especially in the second game of the season.
Yeah. So
that'd be a good idea, man.
I know. I'm working on it. Thanks for coming out, Dan.
No worries, man.
See you tomorrow night at 10 o'clock. Lenny, Melnick, Fantasy Sports, Legend Sports Network. This has been EEEZ Around the Table. And tomorrow night at 10 o'clock, a Fantasy Fan. And tomorrow night at 9, I'm hoping, will Lenny finally be back? I don't know what's going on. I know Andrea's done a great job. Today was her and Lou. Maybe tomorrow morning at 9, it'll be Lenny, but it'll definitely be baseball. So we'll see you then. Thanks for coming out, everybody.
This has been Just a Fantasy Fan podcast. And to keep your fantasies going, follow us at justafantasyfan.com. Say good night. Good night.